If everyone can please have your seats. As a matter of fact, if everyone could please stand, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Patty, can you please do the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Marciano.
Here.
Vice Mayor Litt. Councilmember Marino.
Here.
Councilmember Woods.
Here, ma'am.
Councilmember Lane.
Here.
Thank you. Under additions, deletions, and modifications, we actually have 3 additions to our agenda that are going to fall under the resolution section towards the end of the meeting. New item B, Resolution 33, 2019, regarding the sale of city-owned property at 3704 Burns Road, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, more commonly known as the Public Works property. New item C, Resolution 34, 2019, repair and replacement of the splash pool liner at Burns Road Community Center. And new item D, Resolution 35, 2019, removing a current member of the Audit Committee who can no longer serve and appointing a replacement member in accordance with Section 218.391 Florida statutes. We have copies of the resolutions. They've been provided to all of the council members. Everyone got your copies? Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to add Resolution 33, 2019, Resolution 34, 2019, and Resolution 35, 2019 to the agenda as new items B, C, and D under the resolutions?
So moved.
I'll make a motion.
Rochelle,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, well, let's get to the announcements and presentations. First one is item A, Police Department re-accreditation from the Commission for Florida Law Enforcement Accreditation, or CFA.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vice Mayor, and Council. My name's Clint Shannon, your Chief of Police. Wanted to bring to your attention an award that the department recently received on our state reaccreditation. And I'd also like for my accreditation manager, Mr. Sam Dobson, to join me up front. On February 20th, 2019, the Palm Beach Gardens Police Department earned reaccreditation from the Commission for Florida Law Enforcement Accreditation, CFA, at the CFA conference in St. Augustine. This marks the 6th consecutive reaccreditation since 2000 and the 2nd consecutive award of Excelsior status that our department received. Excelsior status represents a significant professional achievement and is confirmation that our agency's practices have been consistent with progressive professional standards for 15-plus years. The CFA assessors evaluated our department in November of 2018 and examined 107 aspects of our policies and procedures, our management practices, our operations, and our support services. A verification by the team is part of a voluntary process to gain accreditation. It's a highly prized recognition of public safety professional excellence. The CFA Accreditation Award is for 3 years, and the agency is required to maintain continuous compliance during the award period. The Palm Beach Gardens Police Department is one of only 2 law enforcement agencies in Palm Beach County that hold both state accreditation and national accreditation. With that, I'd like to again present our accreditation manager, Sam. Although it's an entire department feat, Sam holds the lion's share of it. He's been our accreditation manager for a long time, and he brings great credit to us throughout the state for this award. So thank you, Sam, for everything you do.
Would you like a picture?
Sam, you want a picture?
That's
All
good.
You want to wait till the end, and we'll only
No,
get
we'll
you up
do it
here
all
one time
together.
because we got
We'll
a
do it.
couple other special awards
Let's do it
too.
all together. Perfect.
Also, recently, the Palm Beach North Chamber had awards in which many of you were at their Valor and Community Service Awards. And we also, at the beginning of that award ceremony, were recognized for our work that we're doing in the schools, in our elementary schools with the Palm Beach County Police Department, the School Board Police Department. They did a video, the School Board Police Department did a video which really highlighted Palm Beach Gardens, and would love to play it for you tonight.
And it is a wonderful day every day for all the help that we get from our police officers.
This has really been a real challenge to get a police officer or a law enforcement officer in 187 schools. This is really a combined effort. We have to join forces, and we do, with all of our partners out there, the municipalities. And this is true of the working environment here in Palm Beach County to begin with.
We've always had a close relationship with the officers from the school district and our schools. We encourage our officers to get by the schools, even when they're on routine patrol. So they've had a close relationship even prior to this endeavor.
On the first day of school, we've had continual support. So the relationship is going well. They've getting the opportunity to understand what we do and how we operate, and actually just see the kids in a different light.
As principal of William T. Dwyer High School, I feel great about it. Not only does it assure that our students are safe, our community is safe, and our faculty and staff is safe, with having the outside agency while they're on campus, you develop those working relationships.
It takes all of us to work together, and that's exactly what's happening here with the Palm Beach County School District, and what needs to continue into the future.
Marsh Point has been one of those elementary schools that was previously served by one school board resource officer who also covered 5 other elementary schools. But after Stoneman Douglas, certainly the laws changed, and the need for one-on-one on-site police officers every day created a real need for police officers.
This is a great opportunity to get to know the kids. It makes us feel safe too, knowing that somebody is in the schools at all times.
They work shoulder to shoulder with the officers. It doesn't matter what uniform they're wearing.
All of the police chiefs, the sheriff work together to ensure that we have the appropriate resources to respond to significant emergencies, and that we plan together, that we're working towards the future. There's not one organization that can do it by themselves.
We all work for the same common goal. So whether I work for School District Police, Palm Beach Gardens Police Department, Riviera Beach, PBSO, we're all working for the same goal, and that's to keep our communities and our cities and our towns safe.
The program that was mandated by the governor after the tragic incident at Marjory Stoneman Douglas, that every school in the county or in the state have an armed security of some type. I think Palm Beach County, and the way they've stepped up, has really been a model throughout the state, with the shared of having officers and our officers in the schools also, while we supplement the school district police until they can get to where they need to be. But I know it's far surpassed our expectations, and I know you've seen all the accolades that have come from the principals and the staff and the parents. They just keep flowing in; they don't stop. So I'll keep sharing them with Ron, and I'm sure he shares them with you. But it's been a tremendous program. We hope that it continues on for quite some time. Being able to get to the kids at elementary school level, we've just forged such relationships with them that I'm sure will pay dividends in the future. It's been phenomenal. And that being part of the Palm Beach North Chambers Awards, they played that at the beginning of the awards, which brought great recognition to us. Also, on that day, we received 2 prestigious awards on April 17th, with our wonderful partner with the Palm Beach North Chamber, with their Valor and Community Service Awards. This was their 2nd annual, held at the EC Theater at Palm Beach Community College. We received 2 great awards. I'd like to ask Officer Jason Sharon to join me up here. The first award we received, Officer Jason Sharon received, was our Community Service Award, which was presented to him for his contribution and leadership in our youth services program, which includes our Police Explorer program. Jason oversees that program, which mentors and has guided approximately 50 young adults Under his leadership, this exemplary group of young people have achieved numerous awards, including 2 first-place awards at the annual Florida Association of Police Explorers competition in the categories of critical incident scenarios and competition pistol shooting. In addition to his work with the Explorer, Jason also works with many other community groups, including educating students in the International Workaway Program who come to South Florida for seasonal work. Oftentimes, these students are not aware of the laws that pertain to them in this country, and Officer Sharon spends quite a bit of time working with them to educate them and develop community rapport. He also organizes and oversees several events that benefit our youth programs, such as our Police and Fire Rescue Foundation golf tournament, which many of you have participated in. It also should be one to note that Jason has been with our agency since 2005, and he's a second-generation Palm Beach Gardens police officer, as his father, Sergeant Chuck Sharon, was in our training division. And it's also noteworthy to mention that many of our police explorers that you've seen are now Palm Beach Gardens police officers. So much of Jason's work has an outstanding impact on our entire community. He's been able to develop and mentor many of these young men and women that have turned into outstanding, not only citizens, but now our police officers. So this award was presented to Jason. It was a very distinguished award, and it couldn't be more well-deserving. Thank you, Jason. If I could have Sergeant Rob Roshan and Sergeant Paul Leffler please join me up here. This was another award that we received. The second award was the department received. It was called the Call of the Year Award, and it was a new award this year that was presented by the Chamber. The Chamber wanted to recognize first responders who dealt with particularly difficult calls in 2018, and they selected members of our patrol platoon 2A and our SWAT team, which is represented by their supervisors today. This probably involved excess of 30 officers, so they're representing them tonight, so we didn't pack the chambers. This call first came to us. Our first responders were on duty, and our patrol personnel from platoon 2A responded and to a particularly difficult call to report. It turned out to be a homicide that occurred in Ballin Isles in March of 2018. Platoon 2A worked diligently to secure the scene. They contained the suspect inside the residence, and they removed 2 victims who had been critically stabbed. As this extremely tense situation evolved, members of our SWAT team, which included 3 fire medics from our fire department, also responded. Tear gas was introduced, and they were able to take a suspect into custody without any further incident. Sadly, 1 young victim was pronounced dead at the scene of this incident. This call illustrated just how quickly we can become involved in a major incident requiring multiple faceted response. But it also shows how proper training, coordination, and courage all play a role and played a role in this day in the effective response and the outcome of this case. Sergeant Paul Leffler Jr. is representing the men and women of Platoon 2A, and Sergeant Rob Boshin is representing the SWAT team. They accepted this award at the Chamber's event on behalf of their colleagues. And again, we'd like to thank the Chamber for their support and the recognition from them, and also the work of not just my supervisors that are here tonight, but their team who performed exemplary in this really, really tense, difficult, sad situation. So thank you to both Sergeant Leffler and Sergeant Boshin. Now, if you'd like to come down. Gentlemen, if you
Hold on,
could stay
everyone,
up
please,
here.
all the recipients, please come back up. Come on, Matt, let's go.
While you're coming back up, I go ahead and call to your attention that for the 5th straight year in a row, our purchasing department has received the Achievement Award from the Universal Public Procurement Certification Council. So since 2014, when our purchasing director and contract director came on board, we've received this award. This award was given to us as a small agency category. Small agency being 1 to 11 employees, and 100% of those employees must be certified by the agency in order to receive their award. And from the letter, I'll just read an excerpt. This accomplishment speaks volumes of your agency's commitment and dedication to the profession and the skills and enterprise that you bring to the public procurement industry. This is no small task to be the purchasing department within the city. It is a huge undertaking, and we are very, very fortunate to have someone on our staff that's able to take a job for many people to do, and is very professional and very helpful in many ways in keeping records and making sure our purchases are correct and the best price for the money, best price for the equipment, and the things that we go through, and all the contracts that this department manages. And it's remarkable that it falls on the shoulders of all of the employees in that department. And I'd like to recognize at this point all of the employees. Kumra, would you please stand? Again. All right, let's do a picture. Here. I kid you not. This man does the job of about anywhere from 5 to 10 people, and we're very fortunate to have him. And I know the staff is feels very fortunate to have him there to help us through all that we do. Right, staff?
Well, thanks. And, I just want to make a quick comment about, we always look at government and wonder what's happening with government, what's happening with our public dollars. And, every time there's an opportunity for the city to receive an award or get a clean audit, which we'll hear next, Palm Beach Gardens is always at the top of the list. So it makes me feel comfortable after all the years of being on the budget committee, being on this council, working with staff, to know that our dollars, our tax dollars, are being spent well, and we've got excellent staff that are doing their jobs very well. So congratulations again, Kumra. And the next item is the fiscal year 28 audit report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the record, Alan Owens, Finance Administrator, and we are pleased to present to council this evening the fiscal year 2018 audit, a copy of which has been provided previously electronically with required communication from our auditor, Markham LLP. And here tonight we have Tammy Goldstrich, Senior Manager with the firm of Markham LLP, to give you a brief overview of the results of the audit. So with that, Tammy.
Hello, I'm Tammy. Thank you for having me here today. I'm just going to go over the 2018 audit summary of the audit findings. Before I start on the opinions, I just wanted to bring your attention to Roman numeral page 9 of the introductory section, which is the Certificate of Achievement of Excellence of Financial Reporting in the prior year report. So great job to Alan and Sean and the whole finance staff for receiving this award. Turning to page 1 is the independent auditor's report. To highlight a few items, we audited the financial statements of the city as of and for the year ended September 30th, 2018. Management is responsible for the preparation and presentation of these financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. As auditors, our responsibility is just to express an opinion on these financial statements based on our audit. We conducted our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States, as well as government auditing standards. Those standards require that we plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. On page 2 is our opinion, and that's the most important paragraph of the report, which states that, in our opinion, based on our audit, the financial statements referred to present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the government, the major funds and aggregate remaining funds of the city as of September 30th, 2018. Which is a clean and unmodified opinion. Some of the other information, the required supplementary information, which includes management discussion, the budgetary comparison, OPEB, city contributions, etc. It's required by government auditing standards, but not part of the basic financial statements. So we do not express an opinion on those schedules. The supplementary schedules, which include the combining and individual financial statements and the introductory and statistical sections, are presented for additional analysis and are not required. This information was subjected to the audited procedures applied in the audit of the basic financial statements. In our opinion, the combining and individual fund financial statements and schedules are fairly presented in all material respects in relation to the basic financial statements as a whole. So that is our opinion. On page 158 is our report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance. In planning and performing our audit of the financial statements, we consider the city's internal control over financial reporting. To determine the audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstance and for the purpose of expressing our opinions on the financial statements, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness on the city's financial statements of the internal control. Therefore, we do not express an opinion on the internal controls. During our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be a material weakness, and the results of our test disclosed no instances of noncompliance or other matters that are required to be communicated under government auditing standards. The next two reports, the management letter in accordance with the rules of the Auditor General and the report on compliance pursuant to Florida statutes, we are pleased to report there were no findings. The only other item to go over, in addition to the audit reports, we also issued the communications letter, which summarizes our audit process. The city did adopt one new accounting standard, GASB 75, relating to reporting of OPEB liabilities in the current year. But other than that, there was no new accounting policies, and the policies from the prior year were unchanged. We noted no transactions that there was a lack of authoritative guidance or consensus, and all transactions have been recognized in the financial statements in the proper period. We encountered no difficulties with management in performing our audit. There was no corrected or uncorrected misstatements noted during this audit. And lastly, we are pleased to report there was no disagreements with management during the course of our audit. And that's it. So.
Thank you. Alan, do you have anything you want to add?
I would be remiss, just one other item, Mr. Mayor, if I didn't recognize our employee Sean O'Brien, who's the CPA, coordinates all of the audit between Markham each year and actually prepares all of the financial statements and footnotes. Sean is our accounting and financial reporting director, so I just wanted to recognize him tonight.
Sean, you want to stand up? Thank you. Great, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions or comments from council? Everybody happy? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to items of resident interest, board committee reports. I'm going to start to my left. Carl, do you have anything you'd like to comment on?
Very briefly, State of the City meeting went very well. Mayor, you did an excellent job on the presentation. Covered all four corners of the city, all the topics that were important. Some of them were smooth, some of them were a little touchy, and you addressed them all, and you had everybody's attention for the duration. It was good. I'm proud of you. Keeping my thing short, I don't like to go over all the meetings that I go to, but this last month I kind of, it seemed like I had more meetings with contractors and developers, whether there's sticking points, where there's developments that are stalled and people can't get in them. Just trying to focus on keeping our projects moving forward so that in the next 3 years before we're all out of here, some of the major things that we're ingrained in, we can get done. Other than that, it was just multiple meetings with contractors and, a lot of the meetings that we all go to that you guys will address, I'm sure. So it was a smooth month. So hopefully making a positive impact for the community, and I'll leave it to you four. Thanks.
Rochelle?
Once again, it was a really busy month. I believe that it's incumbent upon the elected officials to go outside our immediate community at times and get to know what's going on in the rest of the county. So sometimes I do a little bit more in that realm, and there's a few things added from outside of Palm Beach Gardens. On April 6th, we had the Jupiter Hospital Foundation Black Tie Ball at the Breakers. The 8th, I took a tour of the Palm Beach Gardens Library, which actually was very interesting. April 9th, I had my first meeting of the Working Committee for the Senator Philip D. Lewis Center's annual fundraising luncheon. Senator Philip D. Lewis Center opened its doors in July of 2012 as Palm Beach County's first homeless resource center. There was also a meeting of the Jewish Federation's Anti-Semitism Task Force and a reception for the membership of the City Sandhill Crane Golf Course. On the 10th, the PGA Corridor Association was Mayor Marciano's first State of the City address, and he was quite good. Also, Leadership Palm Beach County Healthcare Day, as I'm finishing out my term with the class of 2019 for leadership. April 11th, we had the Mirasol Foundation Awards event. Many of the county's nonprofits were recognized, and an APAC event at Chabad at Palm Beach Gardens. On the 12th, the Palm Beach North Chamber Government Affairs Committee meeting, and on the 16th, I chaired the Palm Beach North Environmental Health and Sustainability Subcommittee meeting. The 17th, we had the Palm Beach North Chamber Breakfast Before Hours Valor Awards ceremony, which you heard about earlier. I took a tour of the Palm Beach County Food Bank. I helped build a Learn and Play garden at Opportunity Inc., a children's center in West Palm Beach, as part of my Leadership Civic Engagement project. And I attended a Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America meeting. On the 22nd, it was Earth Day, and it was United Technologies' one-year anniversary celebration, and they had a panel discussion on sustainability in business. They are the only Level 4 Platinum LEED certified commercial building in the state of Florida, and I believe there are only 8 such buildings in the country right now, and they are right here in Palm Beach Gardens. If you haven't taken a tour, I suggest you do that. It's awesome what they're doing. The 24th was the League of Cities membership meeting at Sandhill Crane Golf Club with over 250 municipal leaders and sponsors in attendance, along with District 18 Congressman Brian Mast. He addressed efforts to rewrite the Lake Okeechobee discharge schedule and addressed other water issues of concern to municipalities in the county. Our staff did an awesome job. Thank you, Patty, and the rest of the staff for holding that together. It was really a nice luncheon. The 25th, the Palm Beach North Chamber 4-hour mobility workshop at the Riviera Beach Marina, discussing the transit-oriented development area and transportation issues that are the future of Palm Beach Gardens in the county. The 26th was the City of West Palm Beach Fair Housing Center of the Greater Palm Beaches and the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County's Fair Housing Month celebration luncheon. The 30th was another Lewis Center working luncheon, and a Leadership Palm Beach County Lunch and Learn panel discussion titled Women at the Helm. It's centered around the unique challenges women face on the path to leadership, and a reception at the Gift of Life Bone Marrow Donation Center and Registry in Boca. Yesterday was the grand opening of the Model Center at Point Midtown down the street, and they are graciously making a donation from each unit sold to our Palm Beach Gardens Police Foundation. So thank you, Dean, and the team at the Point.
Matthew?
Okay, I'm going to begin my item of resident interest by saying that our thoughts and prayers go out to the members of the synagogue in California. I want to assure the members of our community that our schools and our religious institutions and our public places of gathering are protected by the finest and most well-trained police and fire rescue personnel in the country. We as city council members know that it's our responsibility to keep our community safe, and it's my privilege to serve as part of the team with such skilled and dedicated fire rescue and police officers. So thank you so much for your service. In terms of the events that I attended, Mark and I threw out the first pitches at the Palm Beach Gardens Softball League. It was a lot of fun. I don't think I'll be picked up for the draft next year. I attended the Economic Forum where former Congressman Tom Rudy spoke to us. I attended the PGA Quarter breakfast where Mark just hit it out of the ballpark. What a great state of the city. Congratulations. It couldn't have been better. It just couldn't have. Attended the Mirasol Foundation Award presentation ceremony, the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce Valor and Community Service Award, the BDB Luncheon, where we learned about bringing technology companies into our community, the LEED Award ceremony at Carrier Air Conditioning, the League of Cities Luncheon, which was really well done, Ron and Patty and the staff out at Sandhill Crane. It was excellent. And finally, this month I was actually able to get in a few hearings and depositions and mediation. So that was my month.
Maria? Thank you, Matt.
You can tell we all do just a little bit outside of our being here. I started the month off with the Center for Child Counseling along with the Quantum Foundation. They do a program that really talks to how kids are treated when they're young and the impacts it has on the rest of their lives. So it's important to get the input of leaders in our community. Had the North County Intergovernmental Meeting, and I have to say, Natalie Crowley, you did a phenomenal presentation as always, as did Kim Delaney, and of course the topics were Tri-Rail and the Brightline Station. I was the keynote speaker at the American Businesswomen's Association. I attended the CEO Connection with Teresa Urquhart at Palm Beach Gardens Medical Center. We're happy to have her back there. She's a good leader and works very well with the people there. So I guess I'm giving a shout out to the Palm Beach Gardens Medical Center. So there you go. Also attended the Economic Forum luncheon, and Congressman Rooney was interesting, a little disturbing. It's kind of messy up there, so just happy to be here in our nonpartisan, we really try to work it out, get along kind of venue. Again, Mark, great job at the State of the City. And let's see what else is on here. Mirasol Charitable Foundation. Birth to 22 Breakfast, United for a Brighter Future initiative. So there's a lot of programs out there that are really dealing with kids and how they're growing up and safe and education. So you'll hear Rochelle and I probably hit most of those events. Palm Beach North Valor Awards, Transportation Planning Agency, Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, Water and Transportation, again, were the discussions. Hanley Charitable Golf Tournament, Palm Beach County League of Cities Board meeting, general membership meeting with Brian Mast, and Patty, Lily, Jerry, you all did a great job. You always do. Thank you very much. Let's see, where else? Where am I here? I was a speaker at the Palm Beach Toastmasters. I'm the chair of the Smart and Connected Regions Task Force, and as Rochelle said, we had was it 4 hours? Oh my God, we had a 4-hour workshop, but we got a lot done, and we will have a follow-up meeting. This all has to do with a grant that the city, in conjunction with the chamber, received. So we're doing our homework and getting all of our, what's the word I'm looking for? Benchmarks in. So I was a presenter at the Student ACES Annual Award Dinner. I played and participated in the Place of Hope Charitable Dinner and Golf Tournament, again with Rochelle and Mark, and the opening at Point Midtown. Had some meetings with some representatives from the micro-mobility community. So if you want to know about scooters, let me know. Met with Invest Magazine about Palm Beach Gardens. Attended the Frenchman's Creek Annual Charitable Tea. Had a meeting with FP&L. And I'd like to finish my list with the fact that I attended the Historical Society of Palm Beach County Annual Meeting, and they presented the Fannie James Pioneer Achievement Award to former Mayor Don Kieselewski. So if you missed it, here it is in the paper. And Don was a gracious winner of this and contributor to this, and also was the starter of the Palm Beach Gardens Historical Society. So a shout out to our former mayor. And there you have it.
Yeah, it couldn't have come at a better time to have in the paper today. I don't know if anyone read it. It was a great article about the history of our city from one of our former mayors. So thanks to Mayor Don Kieselewski for that. And if anyone hasn't read the book, it's an interesting book. It's short, it's sweet, it gets to the point, some interesting characters in the city's short history. So if anyone hasn't read it, please do. It's funny how being the mayor, suddenly you have more stuff to do. I kind of liked it before.
Well, I told you.
Yeah, you're right. So PJ Corridor Association Save the City was actually very well attended, and thank you all for your comments. I had fun doing it, and everyone can bring their own spin to it as they go forward. The Mirasol Foundation Charitable Awards. The extravaganza at the Garden Soccer Field, you forgot to bring that up, Rochelle. Rochelle and I were there, and that was the funniest thing because it started about 10 minutes early. And if you ever think you can round up a bunch of little kids after they start running, looking for eggs, there's no chance. It was like a swarm of locusts running around chasing out the eggs. After that, we actually went over to the Palm Beach Garden, to the Lake Catherine there, the Palm Beach Gardens Model Yacht Club Regatta. So most of you have ever driven along Lake Catherine. You see the families of people there that are using the yachts, and it's actually kind of neat. And they had people from all over the state come, and they do it twice a year here. So it was an interesting thing. I actually asked them to come here today to tell us a little bit about it, but it was a neat thing, and stopped by wonderful people from our community. Earth Day celebration at Palm Beach State College, always fun to go see the students and judge the art. The Valor Awards. I was able to host a student from St. Mark's, a second grader, Riley. She came in and she was able to use the gavel a few times, which was fun for her and fun for us. And it's always great to take the kids to the police department, fire department, walk them through and let them see what we do here. That's a great way to build community. Mothers Demand Action event, Palm Beach Workforce Consortium. If anyone ever wants to know what they do, this is a little breakdown of how we retrain and prepare unemployed people to get back into the workforce. I went to the BDB luncheon and presented David Abbott's. He was presented from the BDB. He's the president and CIO of Convergent Investment Partners. He recently relocated from Grafton, Wisconsin to here in Palm Beach Gardens. So it was a pleasure to serve that. Happy Easter, happy Passover to everyone. Earth Day at the UTC, League of Cities. It's great when we do our hosting here. Everybody from around the county always comments the food, the event. So people really enjoy coming up here from around the county, and we know why. I had an interview with Invest Palm Beach County, which they have Invest Miami, so they're building a new article here for Invest Palm Beach, and it's going to be a national and international publication to kind of show the world and in the country what we have to offer here in Palm Beach County and also in Palm Beach Gardens. The EDC workshop, I did not stay the full 4 hours, so thank you for staying the full 4 hours. Happy anniversary to my wife, 19 years. That's all good. District 1 lunch with the League of Cities yesterday, and I invited all the members to attend our June 29th grand opening of our district park, which is going to be a great event, and I know we're going to be sending them invitations. Last night I did show up a little bit late to the Point Midtown. Really neat and well constructed. And it's amazing when you walk into these new homes, they really know what consumers want. And they did a really nice job creating floor plans that will appeal to a lot of different people. And then today I had lunch with the new provost of the Palm Beach State College, Dr. Nika Coleman Farrell, just talking about ways to try to partner with the college, with the city, to encourage us and them to make sure that everyone knows that the college is here, and they're going to be a tool for us to continue to try to encourage economic development going forward. So that was my month, and thank you for that. Next, City Manager, do you have a report? Consent agenda. Can I have a motion?
I'm going to pull item number
Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. I forgot, we have comments from the public that are not on the agenda. We do have one card, I apologize. Thank you. Naomi Hoffman.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Naomi Hoffman.
Can you have the address for the record, please?
I live at 112 Casa Grande Court, Palm Beach Gardens. I'm here tonight to represent our local Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America chapter. Moms Demand Action is a nonpartisan, nonprofit grassroots organization that supports the Second Amendment and common sense gun reform. Just this week, we saw a woman die while praying at her synagogue. We saw a mom buying her son a cell phone for his good grades, shot by a stray bullet in the back of her head. She dropped right in front of her child and died. We saw a 25-year-old man kill 7 innocent people in their homes in Tennessee, and it barely made the news. We also saw 2 students on the last day of classes at UNC Charlotte die in their classrooms. I'm here tonight in an effort to raise awareness for gun violence prevention. We would like to express our gratitude to the City Council of Palm Beach Gardens for the proclamation of 2018 declaring June 1st National Gun Violence Awareness Day. We look forward to the next proclamation this coming June. This year, we are commemorating National Gun Violence Awareness Day by celebrating our Wear Orange student art exhibition on June 6th. We call this Wear Orange because the color orange has a long and proud history in the gun safety movement. Orange is the color that Hadiya Pendleton's friends wore in her honor after she was shot and killed in Chicago at the age of 15, just 1 week after performing at Obama's second inaugural parade in 2013. Whether it's worn by hunters in the woods of Pennsylvania, activists in Palm Beach Gardens, or Hadiya's loved ones in Chicago, orange honors the 100 lives cut short and the hundreds more wounded by gun violence every day and demands action. Friday, June 7th will be recognized as the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day, followed by Wear Orange Weekend. During Wear Orange, everyone who believes we can and must solve the problem of gun violence in America will take action and stand together in a bold statement of resilience and fortitude as we advance our efforts together. We look forward to our local event, Wear Orange Student Art Exhibition. We are calling for submissions from all area high school students in an effort to allow our students to voice their opinion on our country's gun violence epidemic. Again, we thank you for your proclamation last year and hope to see you again this year in June. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naomi. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda.
Okay, I'm going to pull item number F.
Okay. Item number F, letter F. Purchase award. Okay. So can I have a motion and a second to accept consent agenda minus item F?
May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda minus, I make a motion to accept the consent agenda minus item F.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this is a purchase award, so it does not need to be read. Can we get a presentation, Matthew? Is that what you'd like?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Good evening, City Council. For the record, Kumra, Purchasing and Contracts Director. This annual asphalt milling and resurfacing project is something we do every year, and it's based on an analysis done by the city's Public Services Department as part of its 5-year paving program, where it analyzes the condition and how the level of structural degradation of each roadway is and parking lot in the city to determine how you prioritize the repairs based on the available budget. This year, we expect to spend about $548,000 to resurface city streets and other locations. Before we decide who we select to do this work, the city engages in extensive market research. We looked at contracts for Palm Beach County, we looked at school district county, we looked at the school district, we looked at the Village of Wellington, Town of Palm Beach, and the City of West Palm Beach. And we do this because generally these people have greater volumes of work than we do. So by accessing and piggybacking these contracts, we can take advantage of the volume discount and the pricing and save on the efficiencies of not having to do our own bid. When we looked at the contracts and we analyzed the pricing, the lowest prices came from the Palm Beach County contract. So this contract is to piggyback the Palm Beach County contract, and the vendor who was awarded the lowest price was Ranger Construction Industries. We'll access this contract again, as I said, take advantage of efficiencies and price discounts. The following city streets will be repaved this year: Fairway Drive, MacArthur Boulevard, Gardens Lake Circle, and Holly Drive East and West. Ranger Construction is not new to this business. They've been around since the 1940s. They're a very well-known and established firm in the county. Staff recommends approval, and if there are any questions, you can direct them at me. And this is funded from the gas taxes.
Thank you, Kamal. Does anyone have any questions?
Kumar, you answered all of my questions there, so thank you very much. And I can tell you, I know the people at Ranger, and they do great work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Can I get a motion and a second to approve item F of the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve item F.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Kumar. All right. Tonight, we're holding quasi-judicial hearings on the following case: Ordinance 4, 2019, second reading and adoption, Seacoast Utility Authority. Resolution 17, 2019, site plan approval for Seacoast Utility Authority. Ordinance 6, 2019, first reading, Costco Wholesale Rezone. Ordinance 7, 2019, first reading, Palm Beach County Tax Collector PUD. This means that the City Council is required by law to base its decision on the evidence contained in the record of this proceeding, which consists of the testimony at the hearing, the materials which are in the official city file on this application, and any documents presented during this hearing. The Council is also required by law to allow cross-examination of any witnesses who testify tonight. Cross-examination may occur after the staff, the applicant, and other participants have made their presentations and will be permitted in the order of the witness's appearance. It is necessary that anyone who testifies at the hearing remain until the conclusion of the hearing in order to be able to respond to any questions. If you plan to testify this evening or wish to offer written comments, please fill out a card and give it to the city clerk. The city clerk will now swear on all persons who intend to offer testimony this evening on any of these cases.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the title, Ordinance 4, 2019?
Ordinance 4, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, rezoning certain real property within the corporate limits of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, consisting of 40-plus acres in size, more or less, as located on the southwest corner of the intersection of Hood Road and alternate A1A, to be known as the Seacoast Utility Authority Hood Road Plan Unit Development, PUD, providing that this parcel of real property, as more particularly described herein, shall be assigned the city zoning designation of Plan Unit Development, PUD, overlay with an underlying zoning designation of Public and Institutional District, PI, providing that the zoning map of the City of Palm Beach Gardens be amended accordingly, providing a conflicts clause, severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Resolution 17, 2019 is a companion item to Ordinance 4, 2019, and will require council action. Resolution 17, 2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, granting site plan and major conditional use approval for an administrative office complex and other improvements to the Seacoast Utility Authority Hood Road Plan Unit Development PUD. The subject site is approximately 40 acres in size, located on the southwest corner of the intersection of Hood Road and alternate A1A, as more particularly described herein, providing conditions of approval, providing waivers, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you. We're going to open up the public hearing. Does anyone have any ex partes they'd like to declare? None? Thank you. Is there a petitioner presentation? Does anybody want to hear the petitioner presentation? Again, has anything changed since first reading?
No, sir.
No changes? Does anyone want to hear staff presentation? Yes, we'll get to you, sir. We'll get there. So there's no additional comments from staff or from the presenter? So,
Mr. Mayor, if I may, no additional new information has changed from first reading. Staff, of course, is happy to provide any material or overview if necessary, or answer any questions. Staff is recommending approval, and I would like to emphasize that the petitioner has coordinated extensively with the Homeowners Association of the Isles, and the petitioner did receive a letter of support from the Isles Homeowner Association for this particular proposed project. Thank you.
thank you. I do have a card, a comment card. Mr. Paul DeSasso, if you can please come to the mic, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening. My name's Paul DeSesso. I am a resident of the Isles. I've lived here in Palm Beach Gardens for...
Sir, I'm sorry, before you continue, have you been sworn in?
I'm sorry?
Were you sworn in when the county clerk, when the city clerk swore you in?
Sure.
Were you sworn in when she swore everybody else in or not?
Yes, I
Okay,
have my hand
thank
down.
you. Okay. You did.
I'm very impressed with Palm Beach Gardens. I've lived here 15 years. I'm not so sure I'm impressed with these resolutions coming before the council tonight. I got a piece of paper, and we've got a company of which Mr. Ferris, I believe, is on the board. Is that correct, Mr. Ferris?
On the Seacoast Board? Yes,
Yes.
I'm the city's representative on the Seacoast Board.
Yes. So I think you should recuse yourself from any vote tonight. You have a definite
I don't vote.
You have a conflict of interest.
I don't vote.
Sir, only the 5 council members vote. The city manager does
Good.
not vote on any items on the agenda.
My short answer here is this is a boondoggle. We have a sewage company asking this council to approve a 40-acre zone variance. This is ridiculous. This company serves not only Palm Beach Gardens, but Lake Park, Juno Beach, North Palm Beach, and we've got a 40-acre expansion. I don't know what letter you're referring to as coming from the Homeowners Association,
Sir, please address the council. Thank you.
but I'd like to see that because, as a member, I am definitely against this. This is going to destroy this community. If you look at the back of this piece of paper, the black dot there is 40 acres. There are multiple houses around here. They are not going to benefit from this at all. The first question to the council is, have you done your due diligence? How many of you have knocked on any doors to see what these residents think? Bullshit with that letter. I want to know if you guys are
Sir,
out
please,
in the community talking to people that are right next to this construction project. This is massive. How about ingress and egress? Who knows who's coming in and out? Remember, this is a sewage company. They call themselves a utility, but that's what it is. This thing started in 1980 when the whole Seacoast entity was formed.
Please wrap it up if you can, please. 3 minutes. Thank you.
And they call themselves nonprofit. Nonprofit, how are they paying for this thing?
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate your comments. We will take them under consideration.
In consideration,
Yes, sir.
I want this turned down.
Okay, we'll
The
have a
due
vote.
diligence has not been done.
We will be having a vote. If you can please have a seat. Thank you.
Bullshit.
So, is there any other comments or questions from the council before we close the hearing? That was the only card I have, by the way.
And can I just, isn't it correct that this is the water storage facility and that the sewage is in another location, that there is no sewage on this site?
That's correct.
Okay. Isn't it correct that the 40 acres has already been developed and we are not adding any acreage to the site? We are just renovating the buildings and adding some new buildings to the site that already exists?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I will close the public hearing if that's okay. Now I'm going to get a motion and a second to approve before we bring back for further discussion. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, let's bring it back for further discussion if anyone has any more discussion. Sorry, Rochelle, if you'd like to continue your line of questions.
I just wanted to make sure that I clarified that there is no sewage on that site and that the 40-acre site is the existing Seacoast site that is not being added to in size, that some buildings are being renovated, remodeled, and that a few more buildings are being added to the site that exists, and none of that involves sewage.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I was just going to say that there's a lot of foundation landscaping that is going in and border landscaping going in also.
That's correct, and there are a number of trees that are being added to bolster the buffer between this property and the buildings that are being proposed to the residents that are there. There's also an extensive amount of landscaping going along the south side of the property in an area that won't actually see a lot of construction, but it will still provide an additional buffer for the residents.
Any other questions or comments?
Nat?
Sir, you've already had your 3 minutes. We're discussing amongst the council now. Thank you.
Well, you've got some misinformation in front of the council.
Well, we understand your comments. Carl, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Natalie, first off, I want you to speak freely on what you want to say, if anything, but I think I addressed you specifically on the people that were on the last meeting or maybe even an agenda review. What about the people right on the other side of the wall and what we were going to do about the noise and those kind of things? So we're ensuring the community that the buffer is going to make sure that the noise is down. And
Yeah, as Ms. Booth explained, as part of the staff review and as part of the due diligence that has gone on with the staff review, there was the utmost consideration to enhance landscaping to the adjacent residents. In addition to that, the applicant has gone above and beyond to coordinate with the residents, and that is why they successfully received a letter from the president of the Homeowners Association on this particular petition. So we commend the applicant for providing above and beyond code on the landscaping requirements to the south and to the west.
do we know if the Isles actually had a meeting and a presentation on this with their community? So that would expand on not just what the city's done, but them to inform their own community on the expansion of Seacoast?
Yes, sir. We attended their homeowners association meeting, myself and Mr. Bishop, and presented to the members of the community that were there the proposed modifications to the project or to the site, and received a number of comments in favor of the petition, and subsequently we did, as Natalie mentioned, receive the letter of approval and support.
How many people were at the meeting?
There were probably somewhere between 50 and 75, maybe.
So it should have been,
There was a quorum.
the information that got out in that meeting should have
sifted through the community if there was that many people in there.
And
Was there much negative about the people that were on the other side of the wall, close
sir.
to Seacoast?
No, sir. There were some questions. We were able to answer the questions, but there was not any issue that was brought up that could not be addressed.
And I know you're not a spokesperson for the Isles, but do you know how they inform their community that they're having a meeting? Is it a 30-day letter, or did you guys send out a letter? Or
I don't know how they notified. This was their annual homeowners association meeting.
So it should have been their big one.
It was probably larger than what they're normally used to. They also voted in a new board. I mean, they had a number of things on the agenda besides just us.
You know, my concern is just to make sure that everybody knew in the Isles that this, and I agree with Councilmember Litt, that this isn't a sewage, this is they're providing water to a lot, and there's no sewage, or they're just basically expanding for the community, for the benefit of the community, including other cities.
Correct. We've also sent out three public notices to the homeowners that live within 500 feet of the property. And this should have been the third notice that Mr. Desario should have received. And all of the information associated with the application is available for review, and we would have been happy to meet with him as well.
Are we obligated to notice as well, Natalie?
Yes. The petition has been duly noticed. The applicant has fulfilled all the requirements, which includes the mailers and the posting of the property and the Palm Beach Post.
So 3 notices.
Sir, council meetings are such that members of the public have 3 minutes, and then we have a chance to ask questions of the applicants. Any other questions or Carl?
I have a couple comments. If I'm not mistaken, the utility was there in 1984, correct? And so the utility was there before the Isles was there.
That's correct. And when the Isles was designed, it was designed with a larger than normal or required buffer to specifically screen and buffer the residents from the utility that was, as you mentioned, already there.
And this is the first major renovation since then?
There was the renovation which modified or added the membrane water processing plant, which is just to the east of where these buildings are proposed.
Okay. Thank you. I have no more questions.
Any other questions? Well, again, these are just administrative buildings that are going to be upgrading the administration of the facility as a whole, so that public services will be more available and more accessible to the public as a whole.
Correct. They will also be more efficient in terms of their energy usage and their consolidation of the uses on the property, which will actually save the residents and the customers in terms of future expansion and or renovation, electric, heating, all of the things that are associated with the existing facility will be improved.
And during first reading, we were talking about the phases of construction and how you're going to minimize the amount of impact to the neighbors. So with that, is there any other discussion or conversation? Let's have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. 5-0. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
So we've already read Resolution 17, 2019 as a companion to Ordinance 4. The clerk has already read the title. Let's open up the public hearing. Is there any ex partes on Resolution 17? No. We don't need another presentation, I wouldn't think. There's no comment.
Incorporate all the comments and testimony and presentation into Resolution 17.
Thank you. So we're going to close the hearing. Can I get a motion and a second to approve Resolution 17?
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 17.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Well, let's bring it back for discussion. Any last comments?
No discussion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move on to Ordinance 5, 2019, first reading. Can I have the clerk read the title, please?
Ordinance 5, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, amending Chapter 78 Land Development at Section 78-159 by amending Table 21, Permitted, Conditional, and Prohibited Use Chart to add new note J74 to Table 21 in order to add membership club, retail, or wholesale to the list of conditional uses in the Commercial General CG1 zoning district. amending Section 78-221 PGA Boulevard Corridor Overlay by repealing and readopting same as revised, to add membership club, retail, or wholesale to the list of prohibited uses, and further amending Chapter 78 at Section 78-751 definitions by adding the new definitions fuel center and membership club, retail, or wholesale, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 78 land development shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date for other purposes.
We'll open up the public hearing. Can we get a presentation, please,
Sir.
from the petitioner?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the record, my name is Martin Fitz, the Planning and Zoning Department. This is the first reading for Ordinance 5, which is the Land Development Regulations Amendment. We're proposing to add the use of the membership club, retail, or wholesale as a major conditional use within the CG1 or general commercial zoning district, and specifically to prohibit the use within the PGA Boulevard overlay. Just a little bit of a background. In 1998, when the Costco Wholesale Club came into the city, they were...
Excuse me, Martin, can you...
Yes, ma'am, I apologize.
Okay.
When Costco first came in, they were in the CG1 zoning district, and at the time, the district permitted a certain percentage of the floor area to be used for wholesale uses. When the city updated their code in 1994, all of those wholesale and warehouse uses were moved into the industrial zoning districts. Costco approached the city several years ago about upgrading the site and increasing the amount of square footage and possibly adding a fuel center. And at that time, we realized that the use was not an approved use, and for the expanding of the use, they needed to introduce the new code to reflect the new uses. So the city did their research in looking at other municipalities and how they were dealing with this, and we have the proposed amendment before you. This amendment will add the membership club, retail, or wholesale as a major conditional use within the CG1 zoning district, and establish the approval criteria for a major conditional use, including different separation criteria, design criteria, and things of that nature. It's important to note that as a major conditional use, this particular use will have to undergo the heightened scrutiny by the City Council, and will go through multiple public hearings before getting approval. This zoning code, or this land development regulation, will also identify 2 accessory uses for the fuel center and the tire and battery installation. Some of the standards that we have established for this are some separation criteria so that another membership club cannot be located within 1,500 feet of the existing facility. Has to have a detailed analysis of the access and traffic. That we have installed specific design criteria to break up the big box design that we're so familiar with membership clubs, so we can have the visual elements that we are come to know and love in the city. We also require specific criteria such as the pedestrian amenities, covered walkways. We have specific criteria for the tire and battery, and also for the fuel center, specifically adding increased landscape buffers and separation criteria for the membership club itself. Excuse me. The proposed amendment will also specifically prohibit the club within the PGA Boulevard overlay and add definitions for the membership club and fuel center. It was recommended approval at the March 5th Planning and Zoning Board, and staff recommends approval. Staff is available if you have any questions.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, just to clarify procedurally, there are a number of items for Costco that have been included on the agenda. There are 2 items which the council is voting on this evening, which is Ordinance 5, which is the item that Martin just presented, which is the land development text amendment, which is citywide. The other portion of the project, which is the site plan and the PUD, is coming with the next petition. So all the aspects of the site development itself for Costco is coming in the next petition. This is only the text amendment.
Yes, thank you. So as we move forward, we'll just make sure we ask questions pertaining to this particular ordinance. Is there any other presentation from staff? No. I don't have any cards. So we're going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion, a second to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve ordinance 5, 2019.
I'll second.
And let's bring it back for discussion. Any discussion or questions regarding ordinance 5? And we'll reserve the details about the Costco and Fuel Center for the next ordinance.
It's just cleanup.
No questions? Okay, well, that's easy enough. All in favor? Let's have a vote. All in favor of approving ordinance 5, 2019? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries 5-0. So ordinance 6, 2019, can the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 6, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, rezoning certain real property within the corporate limits of the City of Palm Beach Gardens consisting of 2 parcels totaling 16.61 acres in size, more or less, located on the south side of North Lake Boulevard, approximately 0.2 miles west of Congress Avenue, to be known as the Costco Plan Unit Development PUD, providing that this parcel of real property, as more particularly described herein, shall be assigned the city zoning designation of Plan Unit Development PUD, overlay with an underlying zoning designation of General Commercial CG1, providing that the zoning map of the City of Palm Beach Gardens be amended accordingly, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you. I'm going to open the public meeting. Any ex partes? Rochelle? Sorry. Okay. Anyone else? I actually have an ex parte as well. I spoke with 2 members of the Planning and Zoning Board, and I also drove through the property a couple times to make sure I was familiar with the property from all angles.
Actually, now that you said that, I did have a conversation with one of our Planning and Zoning Board members.
Okay. Anyone else? That's it? Okay, thank you. That's out of petitioner presentation. Have you been sworn in?
Yes, I have.
All right.
Good evening. For the record, Brandon Ulmer with Thomas Engineering. Yes, I have. I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
So here's some of our team members. The owner's rep is John Paul Andrews. The architect's Gabe Robertson. Myself, Brandon Ulmer, project manager. We have 2 project attorneys, Brian Seymour and Steve Matheson. Our landscape architect's Ryan King, and traffic engineer is Chris Hagan. So here's an overview of the actual site, showing you where we are in the world, starting from North Lake. The site is adjacent to North Lake on the north side. On the east side, the C-17 canal. On the south side is an existing county preserve. On the west side, we have existing general commercial. And we've also got a couple of views from the north side kind of showing that existing buffer, and on the east side showing some of the existing vegetation. So this is an overall view of the site showing the overall site areas and some of the overall site data existing versus proposed. So the overall site is 16.61 acres. The Costco site's 11.14, and the adjacent site is 5.46. The existing site has 171,000 approximately square feet of building, and we're proposing to have 149,000. The existing combined site has around 758 parking spaces, and we're going to reduce that down to 739. The 639, sorry. The sidewalk, existing sidewalks are 8,500 square feet. We're increasing that to 18,000, and the open space is essentially about the same. So this is the overall site and showing some of the features of what we've done. Starting at North Lake, we have the enhanced buffer along the fuel center area, and working kind of counterclockwise, working south, we've got 2 vehicular charging stations. We've got covered pedestrian refuge areas. Then we've got the fuel center and the existing Costco building with additional improved foundation planting on all sides of the building, a covered pedestrian walkway along the north side of the building, and the yellow highlighted area is the actual expansion area that we're proposing. We've also got a number of pedestrian access throughout the site, as well as upgraded landscaping on the existing Costco parking area. We've increased a number of the landscape islands there to meet the code minimum. We've also upgraded all of the parking on the existing Costco site to 10-foot wide parking spaces. We're proposing meandering sidewalks along North Lake along with a bus shelter. So this shows some of the vehicular and pedestrian access, and on the left-hand side you'll see existing. You've got the access points from North Lake. You've got 3 existing sidewalk connections, and then on the right-hand side you can see what we're proposing, a number of sidewalk connections throughout the site. We have 5 connections to North Lake, and just a much better circulation throughout the site for pedestrians to access the store. We've also got the stars identify the pedestrian refuge areas that we've added to kind of collect at those further parking areas. This also begins to demonstrate, and I'll talk about it in a second, is that we've increased the length of the right turn lane coming in, and we've also adjusted the intersection a little bit, which I have another slide to kind of show that. And I'll get this right in a second. So here's basically showing the access improvements that we've made. The existing right turn lane is approximately 170 feet. We're proposing to basically extend that all the way down to the next intersection. That gives us about 450 feet of stacking for the right turn. We're also proposing dual lefts. Currently it has a left and a through. So we're getting rid of the through. We're going to make it a right and a through, and that helps the timing of the signal. There's a small median modification that's required to accommodate those dual left turns. So here's some of the enhancements at the front of the store, the most important part for everybody to get into the store. We're basically getting rid of the parking that's along the front, and we're going to replace that with a pedestrian colonnade, a number of large landscape areas, a number of sidewalk connections back through to the existing parking, and we're enhancing some of the landscape islands that are adjacent to that as well. We've also upgraded and added some cart screen walls for the cart storage there so that they won't be under that pedestrian walkway. And I've also noted on here that we are adding the bike racks, some in the very front and some on the side there where the tire center is. So this is a little bit more detail on the fuel facility. You can see the 2 elevations there, east, west, north, south. They are consistent with the building architecture and the materials on the building. This also shows 12 pumps, 24 fueling positions. We're set back well off of North Lake. This is showing the enhanced buffer along North Lake. There's also an existing monument sign along North Lake that we're actually removing. A couple things that are specific to this fuel station is that it's a members only. They are going to provide a generator, and one of the things that Costco does is that during natural disasters, they open it to the public. So they'll have a generator and they'll be able to provide fuel to the public. This also shows some of the pedestrian upgrades that we've done for access throughout to get them over to the existing store. So you can see that, you know, we've added a number of sidewalks throughout to try to encourage people to use those sidewalks. Here's the North Lake buffer in front of the fuel center. So what we have done is we have pulled the parking back to provide more green space and additional plantings in those areas, enhanced ground cover, meandering sidewalk, things like that. So you can see proposed is up here on the top and existing down here. You can see kind of where that monument sign is, the existing sidewalks that are there, and some of the existing vegetation. Here's the proposed elevations for the building. We've added all the foundation planting on these elevations so you can see what it's going to look like with all the enhancements that we've done. A number of architectural features, different raised colonnades. You know, it's got the colonnade on the front, raised parapets on basically all corners of the building, different colors and textures throughout. So that gives you a good idea that we're meeting the architectural guidelines. So we do have one waiver that we are requesting. The waivers for the sign. The building is very far set back from North Lake, and this is the only sign they have on their site. So we've worked out through the process with staff to get down to basically a 42-inch sign, 97 square feet. And you can see by the picture there that it's to scale to the building. It's not, you know, excessively large. This basically begins to show you some of the materials that we're using on the building, the barrel tile roof, some split face block, and the color palette that they have chosen. This also, there's a little view there of the south and west, of the existing building and how we enhanced that, created a one-way drive to provide enhanced foundation planting virtually all the way around the building now. So that's basically it. This slide kind of goes through some of the benefits that we think that we can provide, you know, that the project's providing to the city. So that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Is there a staff presentation? And you've been sworn in, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, I know. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening again. For the record, Martin Fitz, Planning and Zoning. Just have a brief touching up of a few items from the city's perspective. Okay. Just to briefly want to look at the existing condition of what we have on the site. We have, as you can see, we have some a little bit lacking foundation landscaping, and primarily on the rooms to go side, the formerly Sports Authority building. We have the landscaping on North Lake is fairly lacking, and we have a dry retention in the back and a sable palm hammock in the southwest. All right. I want to touch briefly on the traffic with the site. The traffic on the site is going to be, the number of trips is projected to be decreased with this proposal. And the way that this is occurring is the fact that they are removing 43,000 square feet of retail space and only increasing 20,000 square feet with the new expansion on the building. And the majority of the trips from the fuel center are anticipated to be captured on site, since it's only going to be open for members of the club. And with that, it did receive Palm Beach County TPS approval. However, the county did require them to make specific intersection and road improvements. The first of those is the lengthening of the right turn lane that Brandon mentioned. Right now, the condition is you've got the one right turn lane, but it's broken up into 3 separate areas. The county wanted them to extend it all the way down, remove the striping so we have one long continuous right turn lane. The county is requiring them to close or rather convert the right-in, right-out entrance at the Rooms to Go site and convert that to a right-in entrance only, so that they'll have the right-in, right-out at the shared entrance with the office building on the west, a right turn in, a signalized intersection at the Costco entrance, and then a right-out only on the far east side. Also with the intersection improvements, currently we have the way that it's configured with the combined through and turn movements, the intersection cannot have simultaneous movements from the north and south. So it can possibly take up to 4 signal changes in order to clear the north and south movements. However, the county is requiring them to change the two westernmost lanes to dedicated left turn lanes onto North Lake, which will allow the north and south simultaneous left turn movements and then simultaneous through and right turn movements. This will allow only require 2 signal changes or 2 cycle changes, so that when you're sitting at the intersection, you'll have less time waiting before you actually get a turning signal. Briefly, with the architecture, we have the existing architecture on top and then the new architecture on the bottom, so that you can get a side-by-side comparison. As you can see, we have a much lighter color palette, introduction of the tower features and the archways, and we have a clear shot of this pedestrian colonnade that runs the entire length of the building. This will allow the pedestrians to be able to get under shelter a little bit faster right now, especially if they're coming from the new parking lot on the Rooms to Go site. And with the new foundation landscaping, where there is right now actually no foundation landscaping on the north. And as you can see on the east, the foundation landscaping greatly changes it. But most of the people who will see this are coming to the Tire Center. So we also wanted to show that with the buffer landscaping, it's significantly screening that side of the building. On the south and west, they're still traffic aisles, so they do have to still meet the foundation landscaping. We were able to work with the applicant to greatly increase these and now have acceptable foundation landscaping on those sides. With the fuel center and the accessory buildings, they are matching the architectural standards for the principal building. The applicant is working with a local artist to possibly be able to bring forward an artistic pedestrian shelters as part of their AIPP requirements. However, those have not been approved, so the pedestrian or the applicant is showing pedestrian shelters that are consistent with the rest of the design, so that there will be pedestrian shelters whether or not they get the artistic shelters. And I would note that that bus shelter that Brandon mentioned that is going to be added to the North Lake will be one of our artistic bus shelters consistent with the city's program. The site does meet the requirements for the conditional use analysis, both the standard major conditional use criteria and also the criteria for the membership club, retail and wholesale that we spoke of briefly earlier. The applicant does have two requests for signs. One's for the square foot copy area and one for the letter height. And briefly, I wanted to give credit where credit is due. We have worked with the applicant through a fairly long process, and the presentation has changed dramatically from the very beginning, and I wanted to give them credit for the work that they've done. When they initially came in, they were proposing to have the fuel center on the north side of the site right next to North Lake Boulevard, and the architecture was basically very similar to what they currently have. Through the process, we were able to get the applicant to move the fuel center to the back, to make different site changes, including increasing the buffer on North Lake Boulevard and continuously improving the architecture of the building until we were finally able to get to what we have today. The project has been noticed appropriately, and we did receive one letter today from the owner of the building next door at 9000 Burma Road, expressing concerns about the location of the fuel center. And each of you has a copy of the letter at your seats. The letter specifically addresses concerns about the potential loss of value due to tenants leaving because of the fuel center, negative impacts of trash, noise, odors, and security threats, and also possible environmental impacts. This letter, a similar letter was brought before the Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board, and the board and staff did not feel that a privacy wall, which is what they were requesting, was warranted at that time. And the reason for that is that the fuel center canopy is actually set back from the border property by about 200 feet from the west and about 41 feet from the southwest, which are the closest points from the fuel canopy to the property. Also, it's reducing the overall massing of the project adjacent to it by removing a 43,000 square foot building at 43 feet and replacing it with an 8,000 square foot canopy that's only 22 feet tall. And also the palm hammock that's on the southwest corner that's been there for many years and will now actually be protected officially on this project will be cleaned up, supplemented, and have supplemental planning so that it will be a fully formed landscape feature. Will actually provide significantly more buffering against the property than the required 8 feet. And I'm going to skip a little bit. I want to show you some visually of the way things look. Right now we have the Rooms to Go building at 43,000 square feet. You'll notice it's right next to the hammock. You'll also notice that there's the back area is completely blank and provides no sight lines for police if they were to drive by. And the way it will be with this proposal, we have the fuel canopy set back significantly away from the property line. We have a fully formed buffer on the west and the south. Also, this project will be closing a cross-access road with the office building to the west. Also, the landscape buffers, they're required 8 feet between commercial sites. The palm hammock provides 8,000 square feet of plantings, and also we have 9 feet of buffering on the south. Also note that there is currently between the two properties, there is a chain link fence on top of a retaining wall between the two properties. And also, as you can see, we have all of this dead area that can't be seen from if the police were to drive by. So at the Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board in March, this petition was brought before. Staff had issues with some architecture, landscaping, and some of the waivers that were being requested. The Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board also had some issues that they had. The applicant requested a postponement, went back and was able to work with the issues that they had heard from the Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board and the staff, and was able to resubmit and address all of those concerns. When it came back to the Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board on April 9th, the board recommended approval of both the rezoning and the major conditional use, and staff recommends approval as well, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Martin. I don't have any cards on this, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 6, 2019.
I'll second.
All right, let's bring it back for discussion. Who would like to go first?
I've got a question. Can you bring up, Martin, the picture of the fuel center again so that we can see exactly how far east it is? East?
Oh.
Yeah, how far east it is and where the office building is. I think it's on the next, might be the next slide, the one that showed the buildings.
Okay.
Yeah, that one.
So-
Which buildings are we talking about?
These are the two buildings that are at 9,000 Burma, that's owned by the person who sent the letter. And the fuel center will be, the fuel canopy will be approximately in this location.
Okay, so we're getting rid of the building. We're putting a fuel center all the way at the east end, and basically the rest is parking.
Or the drive out.
The
for the
drive
fuel
out
center.
for parking. And better visibility. And is that wall supposed to come down with the chain link fence, or is that supposed to stay up
That's not part of this proposal, no ma'am. It's on the property line on the other side.
on the other side? So we're not changing anything with respect to what's there, just getting rid of the building? Okay. How far?
And if I may,
Yes.
enhancing, because that Sable Palm hammock was approved on the site plan, but as a condition of approval, the applicant is going to be required to plat that as conservation area, and it will be protected in perpetuity, as well as cleaned up, restored, and enhanced if necessary to be preserved status. So that Sable Palm hammocks provides a significant amount of mature vegetation already, but it's only going to be further enhanced and protected.
And that's 200 feet from that side of the property to the fuel center?
To the canopy, yes,
Correct?
ma'am.
To where, okay. Which is the 25 feet? That's this,
There's, yes, ma'am, it's approximately 200 feet this way, and then it's 41 feet from
41 feet
corner to
that way?
corner.
Okay, thank you.
Martin? Oh, sorry.
Oh, hold on, before you, Rochelle, do you have any other questions?
No questions, I'll make some comments.
Okay. Maria, go ahead.
Before you leave this slide, we're looking at the fuel canopy, the area to what looks like concrete, what is that?
I'm sorry, right. This part right here?
Right
ma'am?
there, yeah.
That's where the fuel tanks are. They're underground. It's just the indicating where the fuel tanks are on the concrete above it.
So you can drive over that, is that?
Yes.
So people are going to drive in on the far west edge and cut across.
And then, yes, sir. So they would come down, everybody would come in and then leave on the east side.
Maria, do you have any other questions while you've got the floor?
Actually, I'll wait, because I'm going to go through my notes and then see who else has questions.
Matthew, would you like to ask some questions?
Sure. I have two comments and two questions. First, I'm a Costco member, and I don't think that disqualifies me. And I did tour the site to pick up, yesterday, to pick up some towels and toilet paper for the office. Thanks. Additionally, I notice you're represented by two attorneys. I'm a member of the bar here, and these are two extremely well-respected attorneys in our community, so you all should know that. I'd like you to answer two questions for me. First, I'd like you to explain, traffic's important to me, and I'd like you to explain how the traffic flow is going to circulate at this facility. And second of all, I'd like you to explain the rationale for the placement of the gas station.
Period. Okay. If you'll notice, the traffic flow, vehicular traffic, is indicated in the blue. So the primary entrances into the site are from the signalized intersection, from the entrance on the far left or far west side, and also on the far east side. This is actually an exit to the site. The traffic flow is primarily on a grid pattern through that. And so people could come in this way, through the entrance here, and then leave here if they need to. The rationale for the location of the canopy, initially, it was right up next to the road, and we felt that it was not something that we wanted to have as visible on the front. And also, it was providing some cross-connectivity issues with flows of traffic, bringing in the fuel trucks and how they were going to navigate everything. And the overall traffic pattern works much better with the fuel canopy in the back of the site. And that we worked with them to make sure that we had, that the overall connectivity and traffic flow worked as best as absolutely possible that we could.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add, Mr. Lane, is that if you were to look, and I'm sorry, for the record, Brian Seymour, and I have been sworn in, and hopefully I won't be sworn at. That'll be over for the evening. If you look at the far left arrow that comes in, that blue arrow, if you continued down that path, what you'd see is you'd enter into the fuel facility there and then get your gas and then come out and traverse back to the site. So if you wanted to then park in that area, you could, or you can end up going back out either that main entry point or travel all the way if you wanted to go across and out to the exit, which is a right out at the east element there.
Thank you.
That's it, Matthew. Maria, do you want to continue your questions?
Well, I'll continue the traffic questions. The county, did they dictate the traffic signal?
Dictate, such a fun word. The county didn't dictate the traffic signal per se. What we did is we looked really hard at that intersection, as I'm sure everybody knows, and I also am a Costco member. My wife spends way more time there than I do. But we all know that intersection is problematic. And so as we were looking at this, one of the things the traffic engineers worked on together was to figure out how to make that intersection better. And so what came out of that, in part from the county and in part from Chris Hagan, who is our traffic engineer with Kimberly Horn, was the various intersection improvements, including the signalization timing. And then, of course, Chris was the one who dealt with the change in the exit lanes and how that would work to be able to allow those signalizations to work better.
And is there a way that they could, the through lane and the turn lane are together, so if somebody wants to make a right turn, they're going to be waiting behind somebody that wants to go through. Is there a way to encourage them to use the eastern exit?
So some of that happens naturally. Remember, this is a membership facility, so the people who do go regular. They're the people who know what they're doing. They go there on purpose. And so folks who, well, it will be a lot better in the after circumstance, but people do know that if they want to get out to the right, they have another alternative to do that. And so over time, if that backup happens a little and people are worried about that right turn, they're going to end up going out on the far east side.
So, okay, I'm done with traffic. If anybody else, does anybody?
Let me just follow up on that last point. That exit that goes all the way out to the right, I do know that I can sneak out there a lot faster. It's kind of a narrow exit by the canal, and it's not very well noticed with the changes in the landscaping and the way the new parking lot is. It will be a little more visible, or will it be more visible?
I don't think it's a visibility issue per se. The parking lot's going to be completely redone, so everything's going to be a lot more visible, a lot easier to traverse. The spaces are going to be larger, so you're going to have less traffic confusion that goes with people trying to back out and into tight spaces, things like that. So all of that will help the circulation elements as well.
Carl, Maria, go ahead and finish your questions.
Actually, it's not about traffic. It's about the letter and about the buffering, because during my agenda review, I had asked the question about the neighbors and what had transpired. So I was under the impression that the neighbors had actually been okay with not having a wall. So then we get a letter today.
Isn't there a wall, though?
Well, not what they're allowed.
The neighboring property had two requests. The first request that they had expressed was to close off the cross-access, which is pretty much closed off right now through sort of a makeshift method. This will officially memorialize that closure with a curb and landscaping and an 8-foot buffer. They had requested a wall be provided, and it does turn out that there's already sort of a partial wall there, as Martin had discovered today on his site visit. But they continue to request the wall based on the letter that we had received today.
Yeah, I would only add, Ms. Marino, that at that hearing, I stood up at PZAB after the comments were made, and I offered, and I also did before the meeting, to Mr. Sanchez, the planner who appeared, to meet with them to discuss this, to work through with them. We heard nothing back. So I was a bit surprised, in fact, when I heard just tonight that they, at the very last minute again, sent a letter to y'all without ever talking to us.
Thank you.
Carl, do you have any other questions about that? Carl, do you have some comments?
I have a lot of comments that might flow into a question or two. I like the project. And first off, because Costco needs some work. It needs to be beautified. It needs to be brought up to speed. And once it's done, it's going to be a beautiful piece of property, and people are going to be anxious to go there because it's going to be welcoming. Secondly, it's the first time we've ever downsized on North Lake Boulevard. If you think about what could go in the Sports Authority building, that could capture hundreds of trips or more. That is a very large building. So to see that reduced, and the people that are going to be getting fuel are probably the people that are going to be going to Costco to get paper towels or whatever. And I'm a Costco member as well. So I'm the traffic guy up here, so I do like the continued lane on North Lake Boulevard eastbound, and it gives two entrants. Anyway, it's a nice flowing lane, because the lane that's out there now is broken up and a little confusing with the line, because one wants you to go into Sports Authority, and most people will go straight, travel over the safety zone to get Costco, and then the people that know what they're doing, they stay in the right lane, and then they get over at Costco, and they got somebody approaching, so it's nice to get that fixed up. So my question on the exiting traffic at the main exit from Costco, is county in agreement that's going to be a 2 left lane turn arrow so people will get it?
Yes, sir. It was the county's requirement for the
Okay, but it just wasn't brought up, so I just wanted to hear it out loud. I read the letter several times, and it seems to me that the most, okay, so noise I don't agree with. Odors, it looks like it's, it's going to be offset enough for, I doubt they'll have odors. But their most important is increased security threats. It's right in their letter. So to me, that's their most concern, because they say it's their most concern. So I would assume that the police, and I'm just saying it because I'm supposed to, I'm sure the police have done their diligence, and we're going to have lighting. What time is the gas station going to be open till?
And, yep. For the record, John Paul Andrews, Director of Real Estate Development, Costco, and I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
As far as the hours, it is 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. on the weekdays, Saturday 6 a.m. to 8, and Sunday 7 to 7. And just to touch on the security thing, this is an open canopy. The building that's there today would arguably be more
it's going to be like the one on Lake Worth Road.
Because people could hide behind a building. You can't really hide behind anything here. It's an open canopy. Right. And we do, even when we close at 9:30 on a weeknight, the safety lighting remains on under the canopy. It's minimal, so it's not like obtrusive or intrusive, but it is enough to maintain safety. So we do have safety lighting.
And the police is in agreement that this is enough lighting for all night long, or?
Absolutely, sir. The police have reviewed the petition through the DRC process. They've reviewed it based on the principles for crime prevention through environmental design. The removal of the building, as the applicant has just mentioned, absolutely improves the security and the safety, not only from a vacant, unused building back of house that has no eyes on the street perspective, but the upgraded lighting and the true visibility that's into the site. So this is a huge improvement from a CPTED standpoint in that particular area.
Right. I mean, again, I'm only asking these questions because if it's brought up in the community, it's incumbent to us to bring it out in the sunshine. So we're discussing these things. And do I think there's going to be increased crime? Nope. but someone asked it, so I'm going to ask it. I've actually done extra diligence on speaking with the community on what they feel about gas stations there, and there hasn't been one person that hasn't been really excited for this project to get moving on because, you know, they go to Costco a lot, and, you know, they'll go to Costco on Lake Worth Road and do their shopping there and get fuel there. But, so I've heard it all, but I haven't heard one negative thing. And I'm not going to say this letter is concerning to these people, but, you know, I think that we've addressed their fears and concerns, and, you know, I'm completely happy with the project and excited that North Lake's going to be downsized by a little bit. So thanks.
And one other thing worth noting on the safety issue, there is no store associated with this out there. There's no
Right.
cash on the premises. There's just, it's the dispensers, and the only other structure out there is what we call a controller enclosure. It just houses the equipment. So there is no cash register or anything like that on this site.
All right, so John, getting ahead of myself, have you guys considered having overnight security, considering that you're going to have fuel, you know, or fuel trucks coming in the middle of the night to refuel? Is there going to be a guard, or do
Well,
you
we
guys
tend
just
to
gonna
get
put
our
it-
deliveries during the hours of
Oh, the day,
operation.
okay. Any overnight security that you've discussed? Just
We've not
because they
discussed it.
mentioned crime?
We have not discussed
Not,
it, no.
fair enough. Thank you.
Do you have more comments? Go ahead. I'll wait till the end.
I'm going to bring up something nobody else has discussed at this point. I don't know if you're aware, but the United States electric vehicle sales increased by 81% in 2018. That's another 361,307 electric vehicles that were purchased last year. We've got, 639 parking spaces and only 2 allotted for electric vehicles. I am an electric car vehicle driver. I use Costco. And, well, excuse me, but they're pretty far from the entrance, and you might get us to stay in Costco longer while our car's charging. We'll shop more.
So as
I'm surprised.
I'm one of those 30-some thousand people also. My car's plugged in outside right now.
You're welcome.
What I could, I already thanked Natalie. So the short answer to your question is, we actually looked at exactly that question. And in fact, Costco looked at it nationwide and studied it in various communities around the country. And what we found is people don't use them. Now, that's 31,000 nationwide. Sounds like a lot. It's not a lot when you consider that. What happens is, as things happen and as that occurs, we will have the opportunity to include more, and we continue to look at that. And what Costco has done is, like I said, they sort of, and this pun is intended, test drove this around the country at various places. And I think that what happens is, and my wife and I are a perfect example, so I'm going to personalize a little bit. I drive the EV, she drives an SUV, and we take the SUV for our paper towels and our other things we get at Costco, and that's what tends to happen. It's also partly why you'll see the spaces are larger on the site, so we're accommodating for that. As you see more of the SUVs that may become electric, there may become more of an issue for us in that. As our customers drive those EVs and as they're needed, then we can certainly add additional spots because all you got to do is drop the wiring in and run it out. So we would do that for our
I
customers.
suggest you do what Wawa did and make an agreement with the Tesla dealership to put in the charging station so that people can shop at Costco while they're
So
getting their cars
there's some pluses and some minuses to that, and I'm sure JP would be happy to talk to the folks at Tesla if they would like. But the other thing to remember is that if those spaces aren't used, you're basically creating dead spaces and taking away parking from the majority of the customers, and that's obviously going to always be a concern.
It's interesting that there's only 2 parking spaces on this and 2 parking in our next discussion at the tax collector's office. There's only 2 EV parking spaces. So just a comment.
All right, I have a few questions, if you don't mind.
Do I have a choice?
No, you don't. But first of all, when I first heard the thought of a gas station at this site, I had my conversations with the city manager, and I was not excited at all about the prospect of a gas station there. But as time has gone on and as the revisions of the project have continued, as the gas fueling stations have moved to the back of the property, for all of those reasons, I'm much more comfortable with it. I have 4 real main concerns. 1 question and 3 concerns. 1 question, how many gas-only trips do Costco generally get? Because the idea here is that, like you said, they're going to be captured. People are going to go in, park, get gas, do their thing, and leave. But how many gas-only trips are you anticipating, people coming in and leaving? I don't know if you have that number. I don't know if Costco National has a stat on that.
I don't even know that. Yeah. I think it's in the traffic study, but I don't have that with me either, so I hope you know.
So a lot of my projects are adding fuel facilities to existing stores, and I had a traffic engineer do some analysis for me at some other locations around the nation. And we found that on average, when you add a fuel facility to an existing Costco, you will see 1 additional trip every 2 to 3 minutes in a peak hour. So that would be like a busy, like at noon on Saturday kind of thing. You would see an additional car every 2 to 3 minutes. So it's really minimal. Okay. It is, in fact, true that, it's members only. So, and we kind of see it as like a third is what we call it. A third of the people that are getting gas there during a day, or they're shopping. They were already there. There's another third that were already pass-by trips, we call them. They were in the network, and they're getting gas. And then that leaves a third that was destination. Some people say, hey, I'm just going to go to Costco and get some gas. And that third right there is what you're seeing, is that additional 1 trip and 2 to 3 minutes in a peak hour.
Okay. So that led to, we've all been through, and of course I'm a Costco member as well, and I don't go that often, but the size of the parking lot and the amount of space people are going to walk, people were probably, and my concern has always been pedestrian safety in that parking lot, because people walk across the street, they don't, and then cars are, I don't know, people get a little bit crazy when they go into parking lots like this, because they feel like they've got to hurry up and get out. And then, of course, pedestrians are walking, and then they just feel like cutting through different areas. So I was happy to see, Natalie and I had talked about this, a lot of the pedestrian sidewalks and what have you, to try to keep people from walking on the sidewalks, keep them on the sidewalks and keep them out of the parking area directly, because that's where the danger occurs, especially as you get close to the building, as you're coming in. So when you have people going for gas, this is my only concern, in that little corner there, or the T, I suppose, where between the gas station and the Costco, if you have people parking in the northwest portion of the parking lot, and they're going to be walking across to the building, and you have people coming out of gas and people from the Costco going to get gas, that's going to be a very busy T, in my estimate. It already is now, but it's going to be more so. Obviously, there's been a lot of improvements to be had. My only concern has always been about people being able to walk around there without feeling like they're going to get hit by somebody. So if you can just touch on that again.
Yeah, so the on-site circulation was looked at by Brandon looked at it, professional engineer, Chris Hagan looked at it, and Todd and Kathy looked at it, your engineers, as well as I think Pinder Troutman was the traffic engineer for the city outside in this as well. So you've had 4 professional engineers looking at this. It's not sort of a perfect circumstance. It's a far better circumstance than what you see now, because you do direct those pedestrians to the refuge areas, and you do channel them in that way to create a safer circumstance. And then when people are leaving, they're also, if you just sort of logically think through, they're actually not able to go that fast, because you can't get very far before you get to that point. So you've decreased.
You've driven
some of
around
that
Palm
as
Beach
well.
Gardens in the wintertime, though, right?
I have.
It's
I
logic,
have.
and that's
so
what
it's
I-
not. Yeah. Well, it's again. There's imperfections in everything, but this is actually a safer circumstance when you look at it on the whole.
So I do feel comfortable with that. I just want to make sure that those pedestrian crossings are going to be well maintained, well lit at nighttime, and making sure that the colors are going to be bright enough so that everybody knows that those areas are for pedestrian crossing, and pedestrians know that that's where they are supposed to be walking. And there's plenty of accesses in and around. So, not that people are going to go, but they should. And so that's my comment about that. My other questions were really about traffic. I'm perfectly comfortable with the safety. CEPTED's analysis of the fuel center is going to keep the area much safer than it is now. When you go back there now, kind of scary what could happen behind that building, and this will make it much better. But the traffic coming in and out, I'm very happy to see that extra right turn lane eastbound North Lake and the 2 left turn lanes getting onto MacArthur. That'll solve some problems. What about the westbound North Lake heading into Costco, making that left turn? Because people coming from the east side, is that lane being extended at all to prevent cars from stacking out onto North Lake?
I don't think
I mean-
so. I think that there wasn't an ability to do that within the existing condition. All I can tell you on that is you're going to end up with fewer trips because you have fewer people coming between the two. Because remember, you also have the cross-access between the facility and the Costco and the Sports Authority. I always call it Sports Authority. I know it's rooms to go now, but it's never going to stick in my head. And so you're going to have a decrease in the trips overall. Some of those will be those left turns, but there is no place to extend that left turn lane.
Okay, I can't remember what that lane.
Yeah, and just keep in mind as well that the whole overall cycle of the overall interchange is going to improve because we're removing those 4 steps and we're just going to 2. The cycle of the entire intersection is going to move much quicker. So you're going to get longer cycles of traffic. So the flush on that westbound left is actually not necessary because of the improvement of the cycle.
Okay, well, that,
We haven't even talked about the overall increase,
Decrease.
decrease in traffic
Yeah,
and
we-
better flow of traffic.
Yeah, and we actually end up with the level service at that intersection right now is F, and with the improvements, it's actually going to go to level service D, which, you know, if my kid came home with a D, he would be in deep. But if he came home with an F and got it to a D, I guess it would be better.
so then that's good. Thank you for answering that question. And I think the last one that concerns me a bit is on the going. It's funny how these processes come. You hear about it, you think about it, and then as you come closer to a vote, you kind of let it ferment, and suddenly you come up with questions, and that's where they're coming up with over the past couple of days. So I apologize for not asking these during my agenda review, but kind of hit me yesterday and today. But the exit, the main exit at the light, you've got 2 left, which is great. Every time I go to Costco, there's always people going straight through that intersection. So you're going to have one person sitting there going straight, and then people are going to want to turn right. And I know that the east end right turn is available, but people don't always use that. And especially if they're going to get gas, they're going to come out, maybe want to make a right turn there, and then you might get a lot of stacking because people are going to sit, wait for that straight. Is there any option to put another right turn only exit there?
You couldn't put another lane in there. There's
On
not
the-
any room to do it.
You would just compromise the integrity of the buffer and the entrance and the parking, where the parking distribution that's peak parking area in that area. So, you know, could you make it fit? Sure. I mean, you can make anything fit. What are you going to lose? You're going to lose prime parking. You're going to lose the entire beautification of that entrance. You're going to lose the symmetry of that entrance. I think that also it's important to note that the concurrency requirement was pretty specific. I think that based on the distribution and based on the the technicalities of the report, the demand showed clearly for those dual lefts. And I think to the point mentioned by the applicant earlier, you know, it is a membership, and so people do get to use. They're familiar with the traffic patterns. They understand that if they might get caught in that through right, that they're going to most likely go out that right. That there is a way to get out there. So. The concurrency study doesn't support it. There is another way to go right without being hung up on that traffic going through.
Natalie, is there going to be a right turn arrow?
Is there a right turn arrow?
Will there be?
Sure. It'll on the main entrance.
Yes,
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah, sure. It'll be striped through right, so it'll be crystal clear through.
What, I mean, the
You
light.
mean a signaled arrow?
The signal, yeah.
No, because it's not only a right turn, too. Remember,
it's
it's
a-
a
Oh,
through
so
right.
the straight through is going to be, I thought we were adding
It's a
a.
shared through right. It's a shared through right.
Gotcha.
So,
And again, to the point that
We'll run
Natalie
that
made
change
about the left turns, that's also going to apply when people leave. With those cycles working in a much more efficient manner, it'll be a lot easier with people getting out in the after. They're
And
going
it
to be
seems like
out quicker.
80% of the people want to go left.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's why the demand, and that's why the.
That's why switch, yeah.
That's why it was required by Palm Beach County to go to the dual lefts.
Can
Any
I?
further?
Yeah, I wanted to go back to just a little bit to the crosswalks and all in there, something that hasn't been discussed either. Where are the cart corrals in the parking lot, and are the pathways underneath, the walking pathways? Are people going to come from their car and try and get to the cart corral and
Corrals-
then to the pathway? Or
So the corrals,
Are they
the,
not?
the corral that's currently in place is not going to be there. They're actually, corrals are not going to block the promenade at all. But I'll let Brandon talk a little bit more
How
about
that's going to work, thanks.
So there's two basic ways that how the corrals work. One is during the day when you go and shop, empty your cart. You're going to put them in the daytime corrals, which are, if you look in the parking areas, you'll see kind of these areas that are crosshatched out. Those are the parking corrals where you would put your cart during the day. They have their own walls, so they're screened. And then at night, to store the carts, there is, I wonder if I can get to the other presentation.
Oh, to yours?
Yeah. We can show that.
Of course, close it out.
Yeah. So if you see right here on the elevation, these are the cart corral walls. So the carts will be stored behind that wall there and this
I'm not-
wall here.
I'm not so concerned about that, but when you, on the other one, if you get your cart from one of those corrals, what's going to stop people from doing what they do now and just walking through the parking lot? Why would you take your cart and head towards a walkway with your cart? Are the walkways, I mean,
So, okay, so I guess, so you're saying basically, why do people take from the corrals? They're going to walk down the aisles.
they're going to walk down the aisles, right. Is the walkway geared and designed so that it entices people to take the cart and go to the walkway with the cart as opposed to take the cart and just go down the aisle, and then the walkways are empty?
Yeah, so we put as much sidewalk and pedestrian amenities in the existing parking field as we could without, sacrificing landscaping and parking. So, we have the sidewalk on the outside here. We've got sidewalk and a pedestrian refuge right here. And all of the handicap spaces have a sidewalk that run down and channel that towards the front of the store.
The pedestrian access areas accommodate the carts, is the bottom line.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you don't get your cart till you get to the door, and, but that's not what usually happens, so.
People are people.
Is there any other conversation, questions? Okay. Well, hearing no further discussion, let's go ahead and have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, guys. Thank you both.
So Resolution 20 will be heard on second reading, so we don't have to worry about that right now. Moving on to Ordinance 7. Can the clerk read the title, please?
Ordinance 7, 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, rezoning certain real property within the corporate limits of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, consisting of one parcel totaling 6.96 acres in size, more or less, located on the southeast corner of the intersection of PGA Boulevard and Mall Road, approximately 0.15 miles west of Campus Drive, to be known as the Palm Beach Tax Collector Plan Unit Development, PUD, providing that this parcel of real property, as more particularly described herein, shall be assigned the city zoning designation of Plan Unit Development, PUD, overlay with an underlying zoning designation of Public Institutional, PI, providing that the zoning map of the City of Palm Beach Gardens be amended accordingly, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you. I'll open up the public hearing. Do we have any ex partes? Rochelle? Anyone else?
Yes.
Matthew? Maria? Carl?
Negative.
No, not here either. All right, so do we have a presentation from the presenter, please? Have you been sworn in?
We do, yes, I have.
Thank you.
I'm Jill Lanigan with Song & Associates Architects, here this evening representing Ann Gannon, the applicant, constitutional tax collector. Ann is with us this evening along with Martin Perry, her counsel. Just give you a little overview of the request we're seeing tonight. This is for the rezoning, as it was read, as a nearly 7-acre site. to a PUD with an underlying zoning district of public institutional for the construction of a new governmental building for customer services for tax collector and driver's license. The building is approximately 24,000 square feet, or just under. We also have 2 waivers before you this evening, which one is for additional parking above and beyond what the code requires of an additional 137 spaces, and I'll touch on that a little further in the presentation, and also a waiver for 1 additional wall sign just to improve the wayfinding, and I'll show you that as well as we proceed. The site is located east of I-95 along PGA Boulevard in between alternate A1A and Prosperity Farms Road, just south of Gardens Mall, and I'll zoom in to show you a little more of the site context. The site is highlighted here in red. As I mentioned, the Gardens Mall is just to the north across PGA Boulevard. To the east of the site, which is to the right on your screen, is the Palm Beach County Governmental Center and the Public Library. A little further east is Palm Beach State College's EC campus. On the west side of the site is the currently vacant retail parcel, which was previously the Toys R Us. And just to the southwest of the site is a wooded area, 6 acres of which is designated as preserve area. You may be familiar with the site. It has a small building that has previously provided driver's license services. It's much too small to deliver those services efficiently, and as a result, I'm sure you've seen a line of people waiting outside, often in the hot sun. The tax collector currently also leases space from the county and the governmental center at the neighboring property, and there they provide the vehicle registration and other tax services. So this proposed construction would consolidate that into one new convenient facility. The proposed building, as I mentioned, is just under 24,000 square feet. It is a 1-story building, but it is a tall 1-story with lots of glass bringing in natural light to the interiors. It is set back from PGA Boulevard just over 55 feet with an extensive landscape buffer in that area. The site is primarily accessed through a shared driveway with the adjacent site off of PGA Boulevard, and we worked very closely with the city staff and especially the public safety departments in looking at the parking areas to make sure the radiuses and the drive aisles were such they could accommodate the largest of the response vehicles of your fire department. And working with staff, they requested, and we will be constructing, an extension of an existing roadway that lies between the governmental center and the library. I just highlighted it in yellow there. We'll be extending that road to meet our site and connecting with a drive. And that will improve the circulation for public safety, especially through the site, giving them additional access points. As I mentioned, one of our waivers is for additional parking. Primarily, that is to accommodate the frequency of visitors and the turnover of visitors to this site, to make sure there's not excessive circulating and standing and stopping as people are looking for available spaces. We have a total of 232 spaces. That is, again, 137 spaces more than the code requires. And it's located really in the center of the site, out of the view of PGA Boulevard, and very well landscaped. As a part of that waiver, in response to that and to ease the parking, we are including 10-minute parking spaces primarily for drop-off. That'll accommodate ride-share drop-offs and pickups, and then also 2 electric car charging stations on the site. The site also includes a driver test course, which meets the state standard requirements for a driver test course there. I do want to highlight some of the landscape enhancements proposed on this site. As I mentioned, we have a 55-foot setback along PGA Boulevard that is very well landscaped. Part of that includes a 12-foot wide pedestrian pathway that meanders through the landscaping back toward the building. The existing sidewalk along there, along PGA Boulevard, is very close to the edge of the asphalt, and it's much narrower than the 12-foot one proposed. It's quite daunting to walk along that portion of PGA so close to the road. We do have enhanced buffer plantings on all 4 sides, including a range of trees and ground covers and shrubs to give it a really natural appearance. As well, we're enhancing the 2 dry detention areas for drainage that are in the very south end and near the southeast corner of the site. Those are going to be enhanced with some landscaping of grasses and things so that they appear very natural. We've also included, again, in response to the waivers, 9 live oaks that will be installed at a height of 18 feet, which is significantly more than the code required height at time of planting. So it'll give it a more mature feeling right from the beginning, and those are located up in that PGA Boulevard buffer. Required points, according to the regulations for this site, it would require 10,524 points in the landscaping, and the points that we're actually achieving is 14,131, so 3,600 more points than the code required landscaping. A little look at the architecture. The architecture is very clean, modern lines. What you're viewing there is a view from PGA Boulevard at the entry lobby element on the west end of the building. It is a glass enclosed space. And I'll highlight here the subject of our second waiver, which is an additional wall sign on the building. And that'll just help vehicles identified as they're coming along PGA Boulevard, and it's kind of discreetly located just under the eave of the building. I'll give you another view of the PGA facade, and I will note that this rendering is not depicting all of the landscaping. This rendering is intended to depict the architecture itself, so we just kind of ghosted some of the landscaping in there. The facade includes a concave portion of the facade, kind of break up that length and give it some elegance along PGA Boulevard. You can see that better in the rendering depiction than the flat elevation at the top. And the glass enclosed lobby space actually extends through to allow entry from the parking side. And again, here the landscaping has been ghosted just to show more of the architecture in that. I did include in the presentation just to share, these are images of the recently completed tax collector facility that was built in Lake Worth. It's a very similar building. The one in Lake Worth is somewhat larger, and it's actually 2 stories, so it's slightly taller, but it does still have that concave element along the facade. I really wanted to share this just to show kind of the quality of the architectural finishes and the elements within the building, and also give you a glimpse of the interior, which would be very similar in this building as it's constructed. The customer service area within the building actually will extend along that long facade of PGA Boulevard with, again, a lot of natural light coming in. Just a little note here of fun. The bright colored panels you're seeing, one side of those is actually the backdrop for the driver's license photos. The other side were done with art that was created by local disabled adults and children, so adding a bit of color and whimsy into the interior, and it's just an example of some of the things that the tax collector does that are just wonderful. With that, if you have any questions, just wanted to keep it brief tonight, but we're happy to address your questions.
Thank you. Is there a staff presentation?
No additional staff presentation. Staff has virtually the same, very similar material as presented, so it would be duplicative, but we are happy to answer any questions, and staff is recommending approval of Ordinance 7 on first reading. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any cards, so we'll close the public hearing. Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion on Ordinance 7, 2019. Sorry, Matt, didn't see you jumping in there.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, let's bring it back for some discussion. Let's start with Carl, if you have any questions, Carl.
Okay. Again, I have probably comments that will fold over into questions. You said the existing, or the new building is going to be about 24,000 square feet?
Correct.
How big's the building now?
Good question.
The piece of junk that sits out there on the street?
I think it would say it's under maybe 1,200 or so, thereabouts.
And how many trips are you expecting with the new building?
I don't actually have the traffic study with me. It was approved by Palm Beach County. I don't know if you
I
have
know, I'm
that
just
handy.
asking. Do you know how many trips are in the existing building? Because they're lined up all day long to get in there.
So, sorry, bear with us one moment. The expected trips are around 1,600 daily. Sorry, I should have brought that along. But a lot of the traffic is really already occurring there because, of course, there's the existing driver's license function, and then next door, the other tax collector functions.
All right. How much are we spending on this building? Are you guys spending on this building?
Still being estimated right now, but
you
somewhere
give me an
around
estimate, please?
7 million, approximately.
7 million? So Natalie, you know where I'm going to go with it. I would encourage you guys to do art instead of pay the city. We'd rather see art, my personal, would rather see art out there instead of you pay the city a certain amount.
Absolutely, and
So-
they've done that in the Lake Worth facility
Oh,
just
good. 'Cause
recently.
you got art inside, it'd be beautiful. And I kind
Mhm.
of have a tendency to push the art instead of people writing a check to the city.
Absolutely.
So we know that the existing building is really not a vision of the corridor, and this building is going to be gorgeous. And I thank you guys going with staff to add the road so the government building at the courthouse can service the people who want to be pedestrians and do all their business in one spot, whether they're at the courthouse or your parking lot. They can get it all done. So I really don't have any concerns. It's a gorgeous building. It's going to be a part of the PGA Boulevard overlay. It fits in forward thinking and forward vision, and it's going to be gorgeous. And we have the opportunity to service the public because the courthouse is right there. So it looks like you're going to do it right. Make sure our relationship stays tight with staff so this will move along. How long do you think this is going to take to get done once you break ground?
We're depicting about a year, approximately.
Only a year,
Yeah.
even better. Okay, thank you, that's all I have. Thank you
Sure.
for your presentation.
And
Thank you.
just to clarify on your comments on the trips, the overall increase on the AM peak trips are the 73 and 115 PM peak hour trips.
The only reason why I brought it up, Natalie, is because the building is going to be 20 times bigger, and people don't go to the driver's license office because you can't get in there. I myself go up to Bridge Road or wherever, and because this building's going to be able to house quadruple the amount of pedestrians that need to get their business done, I was wondering if you did the demographics for what, like a 5-year plan. I mean, because we're downsizing on North Lake, we're not going to add lanes on PGA, so it was just, it was thought, that's all.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Matthew, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, it was my pleasure to work with Ann and Martin and staff to bring this together, and I'm really excited about this building coming in. I think it's going to be a great addition to the gardens. It's a beautiful building, so I'm glad I was able to help facilitate this happening.
Rochelle?
Well, I think it's a beautiful building. You're taking up pretty much the whole front facade. There's not much on either side, right, of the width-wise of the
Correct,
property. It's a very
yes.
deep property, but
It's-
not a very wide property.
Yes, it's, right, exactly.
Just out of curiosity, with all of the glass and the way the architecture is designed, what sustainability things were taken into account with that building and with the sun coming in from the glass?
Actually, although we're not seeking a LEED certification on the building, it has been designed to take those LEED points into account. Also, the codes have all improved since LEED was instituted, and as well as materials, but all of the glass will be more efficient, and there are shade devices on the glass and things like that, so a very efficient building envelope, and it would be, let's say, certifiable if we were to submit for certification.
And I would ask to keep monitoring those parking spaces in case we need more of the electric ones going forward. It tends, once they're in, then they're full, we never get revised. But, the building is beautiful. I'm glad we were able to work out the safety issues on that extra ingress and egress point in the back. I know that took a while to figure out, but I'm glad we got there, and good luck with the building.
Thank you.
Maria? All right, well, thanks for coming up to Palm Beach Gardens, and it's good to see you. This is Palm Beach Gardens, this is PGA Boulevard, this is our main corridor, so we really thank you for making sure that the building is what it's supposed to be. And I think that back egress and ingress was very important to us. The locals use that entrance a lot more than you think they do. they will come in that back way instead of using the PJ Boulevard entrance and exit. So the people that live here know to go the back route, so that was a sticking point with us, and I'm glad and thank you for including that in your plan. That will definitely help reduce some of the traffic in and out of PJ Boulevard. And, you know, government support and government facilities are needed. North County needs a nicer and a more usable building, and that'll free up some space, I guess, in the courthouse now. So you'll be moving your operations out of there. So I don't know what they'll put in there instead. But with that, I don't have any other comments. So thank you for coming up. Sorry to make you wait so late to be heard.
No worries, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, can I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to resolutions. Resolution 19, 2019. Can the clerk read the title, please?
Resolution 19, 2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, approving the reappointment of 2 regular members to the City of Palm Beach Gardens Police Officers Pension Board, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Is there a staff presentation?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Alan Owens, again, Finance Administrator, and I really do not have a formal presentation. This is simply a request for the Police Pension Board. Comprises 5 members, 2 elected by the membership of the plan, 2 are resident members appointed by council, and then there is 1/5 one that's elected by the 4. The 2 resident positions, Mr. Brad Seidensticker and myself, our terms expire this month, and we're requesting that council reappoint Mr. Seidensticker and myself for another 4-year term.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Let's bring it back for discussion. Any discussion, any questions, any comments? Hearing none, let's go ahead and have a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 0. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Alan. Resolution 33, 2019. Can the clerk read the title, please?
Resolution 33, 2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, regarding the sale of city-owned property located at 3704 Burns Road, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, more commonly known as a Public Works property, selecting the buyer whose offer is determined by the City Council to best serve the current and future needs of the community and the residents of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, authorizing the city manager to execute all documents necessary to effectuate the sale and transfer of ownership of said property, providing an effective date and further purposes.
Thank you. Is there a presentation?
No, you have before you, attached to the resolution, 2 different contracts for purchase, one from Nouveau Development Partners LLC and the other one from Johnstone Capital Partners LLC. You can notice in the contracts the difference in prices that they've offered. One is a $4 million offer, and it is comprised of a 180-day due diligence period with the ability to extend for an additional 30-day due diligence period. The second offer is for $2.8 million. It's part of what is called a 1031 exchange, which is a provision of the Internal Revenue Code to allow them to transfer property. It's if you're familiar with it, it's a tight timeline. They've only are requesting a 10-day due diligence period. The only other contingency is removal of the 10,000-gallon underground storage tank, which pretty much every offer we have desires that, as well as then they are proposing a closing of June 12th. So they have a 10-day due diligence period, and that after which their deposit would be forfeit if they failed to close on June 12th. Of the 2 offers, the Nouveau Development Partners offer has a contingency in that during their 180-day due diligence period, they can cancel for any reason or no reason, and they want to be able to apply for a major conditional use approval and receive site plan approval prior to closing. The challenge with that is that a very, I think, quite reasonable argument could be made that such a deal would constitute a quid pro quo or pay-to-play deal in accordance with Hartnett v. Austin, which is a 1956 Florida Supreme Court case, may constitute contracting away your police powers. And the reason I say that is because under the circumstances, you would be both the seller as well as the quasi-judicial body that it would be approving the conditional use and the site plan. Rather than being an arm's length transaction, such a condition renders or has the propensity to compromise the impartiality of the city council as the quasi-judicial body, because obviously you would have skin in the game, so to speak. The property won't close unless you do the approvals. So if you do the approvals, then you get $4 million for the property. You see where I'm going? Obviously, it's up to the council to approve. And we also have in the audience this evening our real estate brokers and agents, Mr. Bob Banning and Mr. Paul Snitkin, and they're here to answer any questions if you might have any about the property as well. They're your real estate agents and real estate brokers for the property from Anderson and Carr. Yes, for us. They've been marketing the property for us for quite a while now.
All right, let's get a motion and a second to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, let's bring it back for discussion.
Actually, in this case, you're going to have your discussion ahead of time, because when you approve it, you're going to be approving the resolution along with the appropriate agreement, sales agreement. So you're going to have to.
So before we have, okay, so let's rescind that. So before we have, okay, so before we have a discussion about the choice, we have to decide on which.
Well, no, you can have the discussion. We're going to have to do this one a little out of the way we've done the rest. You're going to have your discussion on this matter first, and then make the motion for approval of the
Based on the
resolution
choice
with
of
which one you
we
choose. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can I go first as a real estate broker?
Okay.
Okay, as a real estate broker, if we have an appraisal of $2,260,000, the contract to purchase by Johnstone Capital of $2,008,000 is closer to the appraisal and less money that they have to come up with if they are financing, but they're doing a 1031 exchange, so it's a cash deal. A $4 million offer with an appraisal of 2.2, do they have a finance contingency in this? And if they do, what are they doing, putting up 50%?
They have expressed to me that they have the capital and the debt service in place. The issue is that they have investors, and from what they've shared with the city, they have capital partners that are willing to put up the money. The issue is they are not willing to put their $4 million at risk and close on the property prior to receiving the approval. And as I've expressed to you, that's somewhat problematic. I don't think you have to be a lawyer to see the problem potentially with that.
Well, I'll continue my discussion with the store-all acquisition of $3.8 million, which dragged its heels, and then for no reason at all, they did not execute the contract. And when you have $2.8 million and you have a 10-day due diligence period, which basically is they're going to go in a week. If we sign the paperwork, if Mark signs the paperwork tonight, we have an answer by a week from Monday.
Yes, ma'am, basically.
And so if something happens and they can't do the deal, then we can talk to Newville Partners. But I would go with Johnson Capital, because it is a safer deal. And we sign the papers in 10 days.
Yes,
We execute.
close June 12th, the
Yeah.
latest.
Do you have any questions, Rochelle?
Let me, clarification, Max. So 120 days plus a 30-day extension, we're talking 5 months.
Actually, it's 180 plus a 30-day.
Oh, it's 180, it says one, okay. So 180 plus, so we're 6 months, 7 months, and they can pull at any time. We don't know what they're going to put there that we would have to approve before they could close. So I get that catch-22, and the catch-22 is even worse because we don't know what the plan is for the project. How do you plan a city when you don't know?
Well, they have
what they
referenced
have
in the
in their
agreement that their intent is to erect a self-storage facility of up to approximately 100,000 square feet, I believe is what's referenced in.
And this is the same owner as this self-storage facility that is right behind it and butting up to the property, correct?
It's in very close proximity to the property, yes, ma'am.
I have an additional, Johnston Capitals, they're, from what I heard, is they're going to turn this into an actual working, people coming and going, industrial retail. Is that correct? Is that what the purpose of this will be?
That is no, we don't know for certain. That is something they have done in West Palm Beach in similar circumstances, but much larger.
But either way, we would know if the property is purchased outright, ultimately what goes on there or the scale of it is with the council.
Correct.
Whereas if it is not purchased outright, we are in that catch-22 of having to approve whatever they want in order for them to close, or they back out in 7 months.
And then we have to relist and go through this all over again for what would be the third time. So I'm for the, I guess you can tell, I'm for the Johnson Capital Partners bird in the hand.
So much for the secret. But go ahead, Matthew, if you have any questions.
Sure. I have to say, I use Anderson Carp for appraisals, so I value your opinion. Do you have a recommendation for us?
Bob Banting and Paul Snitkin. I'm president of Anderson & Carr, and Paul is head of brokerage operations. Selling this property has proven to be quite a challenge because of many of the constraints that the town as a governing body has. And we have been told pretty much from the very beginning that the property could not be sold subject to approvals. And we've told that to every potential buyer. Unfortunately, in the development world, most developers buy property subject to approvals. So there's really been it's been a big challenge finding a ready, willing, and able buyer to buy the property that's not contingent on any approvals. In this particular case, we do have a buyer willing to buy it as is. They're under some significant pressure to consummate a purchase in a short time frame. That's why there's a 10-day due diligence. They are going to buy it and use it probably as it is for a while with the idea that they will work with the town over time and come up with a use that the town can agree to and that makes economic sense for them. So they're taking a significant risk by purchasing it without the contingencies. We believe that the price of 2.8 is a very fair price, not only based on the appraisal, but also based on the history of offers that we've gotten for this property over the last couple of years when we've been marketing it. We've had consistent offers in the 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, maybe 2.6 range. Some of those buyers in the 2.5, 2.6 range walked away for various reasons. Some of them have walked away once they understood that they could not buy it subject to approvals. I think 2.8 is a very fair price. We did have another party tie the property up for a period of time based on a unrealistically high offer. I'm not sure what their intent was, but they tied the property up and then did nothing for a period of time to pursue development. My hunch is maybe they just wanted to take the property off the market so they wouldn't have any competition because they were an owner of similar type property in the market, but we don't really know that. But we did prepare a little exhibit that sort of shows the offers we've had from the various parties and what's happened over time. I think the higher price is a deal, and I don't think at the end. I think at the end of the day, if the town goes down that road, they run the risk of letting someone else tie up the property for free for up to 7 months, at which time they can say, you know what, I changed my mind, and now here we are 7 months later, and we've lost that opportunity. So I think we feel like the 2-point offer is a very good one. You'll know in 10 days. You know, if it doesn't turn out, then we can always go back and, you know, try and find somebody else.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Rochelle.
Another statement, the cost of tying money up, putting 2.8 in the bank now, the interest we would gain, waiting over 7 months of, I mean, we're going to close that price gap somewhere along the way too by having that money up front versus 7 months and then the possibility of not having it at all too. So.
Carl, do you have any questions?
No, you guys got it. You said it, but I don't, you know, this just doesn't make me feel good. You know, like I actually don't feel good about it. I mean, we need to be separated once or twice from a project or someone who's buying a piece of property. We can't be in bed with them. And whoever buys the property, then it needs to go through staff like everybody else does who wants to do business in the gardens. And then eventually it gets to me once staff, once staff, you know, approves it and vets the project. And I don't feel good that the city and us council members are actually going to be in have a relationship pending on what they want to do. Well, this is Palm Beach Gardens. I mean, we're going to dictate what happens in this city, and we're not going to be tied up in a contract that's inflated and probably will never, you know, will never come to fruition. So, Max, you've given us your legal opinion on Nuvo. Can you give me the abbreviated legal opinion on the contract for Johnstone Capital and the cleanliness of it, or straightforward, or whatever you think?
The Johnstone Capital offer, their contract, which they've signed theirs as well. Both parties have already signed their contracts. It is a standard Florida FAR bar commercial contract, and it has an exhibit page on the back that has a few conditions, none of which are offensive from a legal standpoint, and I believe that from a business standpoint, the city staff doesn't have any issues with. We are not indemnifying them for any environmental issues on the property. We have a clean phase one anyway. The only thing that we are agreeing to do is to remove the 10,000 gallon UST, the underground storage tank, no later than September 30th at our expense, and if there are any environmental impacts related to that removal, then the city would be required to mitigate that. That does not appear to be an unreasonable request at all from staff's perspective, because that is something that almost any buyer is going to require of us unless they want the tank to stay. The other thing is they're allowing us to basically rent back, if you will, remain on the property as a tenant until September 1st at no expense. We have given them an inventory list of the city's personal property that is currently located on premises, and it gets to remain there obviously during our use. And then when we vacate on September 1st, we take everything that's on the list. Anything that's not on the list stays and becomes the personal property of the buyer. That's not abnormal at all in a real estate deal. I'm sure Mr. Banning and Mr. Snitkin could expound on that even more than I can. And that is, in a nutshell, I can look on the last page just to make sure, but I believe that is essentially the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the conditions. There is one other condition, that there's a parking area adjacent to the property that's in the city's right-of-way. It's property we own, and they just wanted to have the right to park there, and we put a provision in there that said, yes, they do, but it's a non-exclusive right. That's not outside the ordinary or beyond the pale either, from my estimation.
And 2.8 is market value as of today? No, I mean, I think it's incumbent of us to put the money of this sale back into the community where, you know, it can flourish instead of take a risk on something that may never happen, because we've already done it once. I personally don't want more storage there. And it's prime property for medical or whatever else might go there. I mean, it's the alternate in Burns Road. Other than the railroad tracks, thousands and thousands of people pass that building every day. That's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Well, I got two things to say, yes and yes. So hearing no further discussion, all in favor, wait, so before we start, we're going to need a motion to accept.
A motion to adopt Resolution 33,
Purchaser of,
selling the property, choosing or designating Johnstone Capital LLC as the buyer.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Johnstone Capital Partners.
do I need to repeat that? I guess I don't, okay.
I think we've got it.
So Maria and Carl, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Resolution 34, 2019. Can the clerk read the title, please?
Resolution 34, 2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, approving a change order to the purchase order issued to Spado Construction, LLC, for the repair and replacement of the splash pool liner at Burns Road Community Center, authorizing the city manager to execute the change order to the purchase order, providing an effective date for other purposes.
All right, thank you. Is there a presentation? No presentation? Well, let's go ahead and.
It's a very simple change order. Basically what it is, just to summarize it for you real quickly, is they're fixing the splash pad pool. The original contract was within the city manager's purchase authority. The contractor got in there, realized the liner had to be replaced. Now it's exceeding his purchase authority, and so we had to bring it back to the five of you for ratification of that increase since it exceeds his purchase authorization.
And this is going to be required in order to open up the splash pad
To get it
on
back
time
online.
because summertime is coming if anyone's been outside recently.
If you want to splash, we need to get this fixed.
All right, so let's go ahead and get a motion in a second to bring back for discussion.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 34.
I'll second.
I'll put Matt on that, if that's all right. Any discussion, any questions, any comments?
It's for the children.
You're right, my kids used to love that splash pad. I would hate to be the one that says, sorry, you can't go till next month.
We're going to say that for another 4 years.
Parks and Rec budget?
Capital, it's out of capital.
All right. So, any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 0. Motion passes 5-0. And lastly, Resolution 35, 2019. Clerk, can you read the title, please?
Resolution 35, 2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, removing a current member of the Audit Committee who can no longer serve and appoint a replacement member in accordance with Section 218.391 Florida statutes, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
All right, do we have any,
We have a member of the audit committee that you had appointed a couple months ago, and that individual, that staff member, has their workload is too severe. It's grown too much in their department, and so they can no longer serve. And so we needed to bring it back to you to pass a resolution to remove that individual and appoint a replacement. So we're asking you to remove Tricia Thomas and appoint Alicia Sanders in her place.
Oh, okay.
They're both city employees.
Correct.
I'll make that.
Alicia, you okay with this? Okay.
Where is she? Speak up now.
Because Alicia doesn't have enough to do.
I don't know if she was volunteered or drafted, but yes, she's the choice.
Is your arm being twisted a little bit too tight back there? Okay.
She was just a little slow on the steps. Everybody stepped backwards, and Alicia was standing there.
So she didn't step anywhere. We stepped back.
We just moved backwards, and that was kind of it.
All right, can I get a motion in a
Yeah,
second?
I'll make that motion.
Matt
I'll second.
And Michelle. Any other conversation? No. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 0. Motion carries. Wonderful. Well, that was good stuff, everybody. Now,
Attorney?
hey, this is your opportunity to talk about anything. Is there any items of council discussion or action that anyone wants to talk about that's not on the agenda that you have concerns about or want to make comment of?
Got anything burning?
I think the only thing is just please read the proclamations, at least look at the titles of the proclamations. They're there for a reason.
I was going to read them, but had so much going on, and we all had such long things to do that.
I mean, people come to the council and come to the city staff because they want something on the agenda just as a proclamation, so just have the courtesy to recognize them. Other than that, Attorney, you have a report?
I do have one item for the council, very quickly. In the city manager's agreement, his employment agreement requires him to be evaluated by June of each year. So it's May, June's going to be coming up. So I would encourage the council members to get with Ron individually and provide him whatever feedback that you would deem appropriate. We have always historically, the council has done the discussion or the evaluation in private with Ron, and then during the June meeting or the July meeting, if you choose, they express some of their comments about it, but I would encourage you to do that.
Where did this past year go? Didn't we just?
Well, I
It's
think
moved
most of
quickly.
us often have conversations. I know I speak with Ron at least once a week face-to-face and other times as well, and I'll continue to do that, and I'm going to evaluate you over this next month as well. So obviously, all of you have your conversations with the city manager, and please give him your opinions. Other than that, anything else on your report, City Attorney?
No, sir, not right now.
With nothing else to be said, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 9:52.